Welcome back to the Iesf African Esports Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, we've seen an amazing day yesterday. It's been one of the most one-sided first day of tournaments that I think we've ever seen, at least in Iesf regional qualifiers.
Yeah.
Egypt plowing through the lobby, but so has Morocco. So I'm excited to see the day today.
I'm super excited. We had a bit of a chat with the teams and the players, and it's been, yes, you could say one-sided, you could say two-sided, but we still have Mauritius there in a third place. That makes it really exciting. And we have a lot of teams that still have plenty of chances if you're being realistic. It's just they have to step it up massively. We talked about it yesterday, right? 30 points difference in 18 games is a lot. 30 points difference in 6 games is absolutely mental. It's absolutely crazy. So, yes, we want to see the lower tier teams grouping up, closing that gap, but they have to step it up today.
They have to step it up today. I talked to plenty of the players.
Yeah.
And the first thing I asked was, is anyone going to be able to catch up to the top two? Because ultimately, yes, it's about crowning the Iesf African Esports champion. But then again, it's also about top two going to Riyadh World Esports Championship later this year. With a big prize pool, obviously, apart from the $25,000 here, also gets, given out. So the responses were mixed, to be honest, right? Some were super convincing, saying we can definitely catch up. We especially can definitely catch up. I'm talking about Tunisia. I'm talking about Mauritius, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Nigeria as well, who have shown us, especially in that Miramar game that we saw, unfortunately, depending on who you chief, obviously, Suxi destroyed them. But they said as well, I think it's definitely possible. But one thing was almost the same on any team that we asked. They said that this is only going to be possible if Egypt or Morocco, one of these two teams, will have a weaker day on one of the 3 days. And maybe that's going to happen today.
That would make it a whole lot easier, right? But we've, like you said, we talked to plenty of the teams, and the responses have been very mixed. Now, to catch you up to what happened yesterday, 103 points in 6 games, not 7. That's a little bit of an odd one. And 4 wins for Egypt was absolutely insane and has put them plenty points ahead of Morocco with 87. And then there's another big gap right after that to the 3rd and Mauritius, and another big gap to the 4th. So right now, there's a lot of separation on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
And the approach that some of these teams told us they were going to take today was varying very widely. I talked to Mauritius yesterday. They said, well, if we're playing a normal game, we're probably ending up 3rd, but that's not what we care about. We have to play way more aggressive. We have to look for kills way more, and we have to try and punish Morocco especially, who we're a little bit closer to in fights, because we know we can. But we're playing normal PUBG, and these guys are playing crazy aggressive, and they're running away with things. Yeah,
actually, plenty of teams said that they were going to they had major takeaways from the first day. And I think ultimately we had such a huge disconnect between these top teams and how they play and the rest of the lobby, right? We had South Africa being in part really aggressive, realizing, hey, it depends really on who we're aggressive against.
Yeah.
So maybe we should take things a little bit smarter, is what they said they were going for today. Same with Nigeria, right? Realizing, hey, if we actually take these fights earlier than what we did yesterday, I think we're going to be way more successful, which is also what they said today, right? Going in towards today, they want to make sure that they can get isolated fights, obviously not necessarily against Egypt or Morocco, but against some of these other teams that they feel very confident about in first 2 phases. Yeah. And if that happens, I could definitely see them catch up again. We have it here in the overall ranking. Nigeria being in 5th place, 31 points. Yes, it's a big step up towards 87, but, and that's the next question we asked all of these guys, what do you see, Iesf? What's the goal for today? And everyone said top 3.
Yeah. For a lot of these teams, it's about closing the gap. It's not about getting 2nd or 1st today. It's about closing the gap, and it's about giving yourself a chance on the last day. The first day was laying foundations, and, Egypt, Morocco have done that to a certain extent, Mauritius as well. Everybody else has had a bit of a rough one, I think it's fair to say. And then they are trying to retribute themselves today, so they have a chance on the last one, and that's what it's all going to come down to.
6 matches have been played. We have 6 more today, ladies and gentlemen. The map rotation is obviously going to be the same. And be reminded again, 103 points for Egypt right now. That is a big difference towards Morocco. Probably means even if Morocco has a major game and Egypt doesn't, they'll still be ahead of them. Yeah. And this is going to be the storyline we're obviously going to watch today as well. Who's really got the best chances going into tomorrow in terms of crowning themselves the Iesf African Esports champion, which is the first of its kind. It's an historic title, and we talked about this as well. It's historic to come here, to be able to compete about this, and it's something that no one will ever be able to take away from you.
Absolutely, and I think that's the interesting story here as well. Is Egypt and Morocco, they're playing a bit of a different game right now than everybody else, because they're playing for 1st, while everybody else in the lobby right now is hoping that they can play for 2nd. And they have different goals in mind, but you look at the scoreboard and you're saying, well, there's a gap. But one good game from Mauritius, one fumble from Morocco, and suddenly this is way too close for comfort, right? Like, yes, sure, they're way ahead. They're 25 points ahead right now, but that's nothing in 12 games, and that's entirely possible. So I think Egypt a little bit more confident, especially because they won 4 games yesterday, right? Morocco is on pretty bumpy footing.
Interesting, because I talked to them about this today. I asked straight up, do you think anyone is going to be able to catch up? You know what they said? No, they don't think it's possible. Yeah. And honestly, by the way we've seen them yesterday, you could argue it really isn't. Because imagine getting 87 points without winning a round. I think that's the crazy storyline we haven't even touched on. Yeah. Egypt taking 4 rounds, still being ahead by barely 20 points. That's kind of the big storyline we talk about. Also, I talked to them a little bit about what Morocco wants to do differently today. They said they went for big splits yesterday. I've seen it in some of the games, to be honest, where it hasn't necessarily worked out, but in some that did, right? Erangel, I think the second Erangel today, we said Senka was controlling Madagascar on his own. Stuff like that is what they will try to avoid now going into the day. That's at least what they said. And also just a lack of focus in terms of finishing off these rounds is something they will try to fix, because it's been some time since they had the last official big tournament.
Yeah, and I think that's also what not only they are saying, it's also what the other teams are saying, is Morocco has been really good, but in fights, they've dropped the ball every now and then. They've had issues in big, complicated team fights. We've seen them get 3 versus 4 by Egypt twice yesterday. Yeah. If that didn't happen, the score would look entirely different. And they would have 20, 30 more points. Egypt would have 20 less. We would be looking at different storylines, different things to tell. And that's something that they definitely want to fix. And yeah, they said, we're going to play, and we're going to play our own game, but we're just going to try and make a little bit less mistakes, go a little less crazy. And I think that's great. But like we said earlier, right, South Africa, for example, has a completely different approach. Where we talked to them, they were fragging out in scrims, and then they realized in the real games that doesn't really work, and that has not worked for us at all. So they're taking this experience now, first time on a global on a stage here offline, and they're realizing, okay, we can't really play the same game we're playing in South Africa or that we're playing in scrims. So the takeaways have been super different for some of these teams. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, we kind of gotten the same response from them as well in terms of what they want to fix for today before we head into this first match, obviously, which is going to be Sanok, which is they want to take more isolated fights early, and this has been the story for Nigeria as well. And they still also think that Morocco and Egypt can be caught up, but for today, likewise, as we said, well, plenty of these teams, the goal is going to be top 3, and that's going to be interesting, because apparently everyone is just gunning for Mauritius' spot at this point.
They are, and we'll see. I'm excited to see how this starts. I'm excited to see how this kicks off. We're going to start the first game on Sanok, yes. And we're going in. We have a bit of an eastern playing path, one that might lead us to 1 or 2 hot drops just along the bat. And we've seen that yesterday. It's mixed success. We've seen Morocco in a very early Erangel game instantly hot dropping versus some of Niger. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what these teams have in store for us. And I hope that it's going to be just like yesterday, with a touch more on the lower teams on the scoreboard.
With a touch more of these lower teams making it happen, trying to obviously gain some ranks, but for any rank that's being gained, someone else has to drop down. So unfortunately, some of these lesser known teams, some of these lesser experienced countries do still have the chance, but it's going to come down to today essentially in terms of qualifying to Riyadh, and especially also in terms of representing your nation to the best of your abilities. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going into Sanhok. As you said already, this is a relatively fair playing path. Everyone's going to be able to get to whatever loot spot they desire. And you were talking about hot drops. I don't see anything just yet, but I think just judging by the way how many teams we have towards the northern side of the map, and especially southwestern side as well, we might, depending on the first phase, see a couple of rotations being targeted.
Madagascar on that northwestern edge as well, going into Hatin in contention with Djibouti. Djibouti, a team we've seen fighting early for spots that we're not usually used to seeing. We've seen them hot drop Partona yesterday. It went okay, but the exit out of the city was not it. And this one is a full-on hot drop. This one's going in fast, instantly on a 2v2 here before some of these players have even picked up weapons, Felix.
This is going to be one hell of a slaughter right now. Djibouti, they just cannot keep dodging these early fights. And this time around, Madagascar is very open to fighting them as well. They've immediately isolated one of the players. I think that's Kilva, King Kilva, so to say, in the first building. He's going to get the drop on towards Slade, though. That's the DBS with an entry. And he's immediately going to finish that off with a flush as well. Zora is able to trade him out, but not before his teammates did get flushed. So it's going to be down to a 3-on-2.
He got 2 knocks with that shotgun. He got 2 knocks. He's opening the door wide. NASA is a little bit far off. The rest of the team is right there to trade, though. And they're looking to close this one out nice and early. I think that's 3 already for them. Right, boy. Has to get a reset in around the corner. The res has come through on the stairs. A second too fast to get punished. There's another knock. The SMG's coming up the stairs. This is not looking good for Sora. And it's not gonna be possible. Madagascar out as the first team of the day. And all reses across the board here for the Djiboutian squad.
What a massive pickup coming in from Djibouti. Not losing a single player on this one. And yes, he's only gotten that one frag, but what an important one that was from King Kilba, obviously, to start off that frag and start off that team fight. We know how important these entry frags will be.
With a double knock as well, right? That's buying so much time for his team.
Knock,
he did get 2 knocks. He didn't get the flush, but he got 2 knocks before he was traded.
True.
And so that's massive. Because if you get 1, sure, you've kind of done your job. But you're not expecting to get more than 2 in a situation like that. He does exactly that, and that makes it such a winnable situation for his team.
4 points is not nothing either.
No.
30 points now. They've already made placements on the overall leaderboard.
Yeah, and they've shown us signs of this, right? And so many of these teams have shown us signs like that. It's just they haven't been consistent, right? And they haven't been consistent with it. We've seen Senegal play a massive round in game 1, 11 frags. We've seen, like we said earlier, Nigeria playing really well on Miramar. But they haven't been consistent throughout the rounds, and that's what's separating them from the top. I think Egypt dropped 1 round and played 5 fantastic ones. Morocco also, I think they've basically dropped 1 and played 5 good games. So if you're not as consistent as those guys, it's just going to be so hard to keep up.
Tough stuff. Tough stuff for Madagascar in the early stages of this first round. And same could be said about Kenya about any of these rounds, as they will start with 3 men only. Unfortunately, due to travel issues, one of the players not able to attend here. Always bound to happen with so many different countries bringing players in from all over Africa. Just a massive, massive, obviously, challenge in terms of managing all that. And unfortunately, this time around, it's been Kenya that wasn't able to attend with the full 4 men here in Pubgm Mobile. I think everyone else was actually able to attend. I don't think there's a single other player that had travel issues, which is a massive, massive percentage of. Once again, we have so many countries. We have high double-digit countries attending from all over Africa. That means almost any country in Africa attending a player or a team. So we're heading into the next fight there. Excuse myself, Tunisia will be dropped down by Mighty. And it's just down to a 3-man now. They said they wanted to be more aggressive, but this is not the start they wanted.
Not what they wanted. Instantly flushed as well. No chance for a trade for them. And that's gonna be a tricky one to start with. There's another knock from afar. South Africa is getting involved into the same fight, and it's fallen apart for Tunisia right there. They said they had the experience. They had some young fraggers on the roster as well, but that is not looking good today. Gonna have to try and draw back, lick their wounds, consolidate, and cut their losses. They're flying into the crater as well. They're completely giving up the high ground and the information just to be safer and have a little bit more survivability. That's a terrible start, and that's going to be one thing they have to come back from. That's going to be one thing that's going to slow down their mental quite a bit here.
Going to be tough. Going to be tough now going into even this round now with that first player lost. It's going to be a big bummer to that confidence. As we said, this first start of a day, especially have these big goals lined up. You actually prepare for it so much. You've watched back these VODs. You know what you want to fix. And the very first instance is losing a player to one of your big competitions on the overall leaderboard. In terms of making it to top 3, that's got to sting to some degree. That's got to sting big time.
For sure. Mental hurdles as well attached to that. Mali is a team that I wanted to touch on a second ago. They are 4th place right now. We saw them very hesitant yesterday. We saw them very passive yesterday. And somehow they're still, with that win in the Erangel game, just doing their job, doing their due diligence. And we saw them making it into 4th. Now Mohamed is starting things off where they left them off. Instantly gets a run over knock, and we'll have to wait and see if they take that fight. We saw Mauritius, they were saying they want to be more aggressive. Right now they're just getting run over in the forest. It's going to be a tricky fight versus Egypt.
It's going to be a tricky fight indeed. It looks like Egypt has no interest in this one, as Mauritius now maybe has the opportunity to take down Mohamed. But look at this, Logic, he's got no idea. Logic, he can't be driven over, but he still stays alive. That should not have happened. What an almost perfect opportunity now for Mauritius, but Egypt, they continue to fight this. They're down on HP, but it doesn't really matter because they know that Logic is somewhat disconnected from the rest of his teammates. And Logic realizes that as well. What a smart play. He backs off. It's down to a 4-on-4 again.
Down to a 4v4, and you can see Mauritius, they said they were going to get aggressive, but they don't know how to handle that. They don't know what to do with this now. They've just gotten the res on the far distance. They put the player in the car, created some distance, got the res off. And Egypt realizes, okay, we're not going to overstep all too crazily. We could have maybe gotten an opening there. We could have maybe gotten a knock, but
both teams
it wasn't meant to be. Yeah, I mean, this could have gone really, really wrong for Egypt. I think they went a little too crazy here, but in the end, both of them reset, and both of them try to go for a bit more structured of a game. You can see, just by the reaction here, they've just been pushed in such a passive position.
There we have it. Morocco now, one of the first times we see them today. Actually, the first time I think Senkai is going to pick up Djibouti. And this is the first pickup for Morocco, ladies and gentlemen. And the first instance as well of fighting goes their way. I don't think Kerryman is going to be left stranded on the other side. There should be a way to get him back up. And Senkai is already rotating towards it. No worries at all there for Morocco. And this is a worth it trade, and they will get the second flush as well here any second now. This is a good first start for Morocco. I like what they did. This is what you have to do in a best of 18 every once in a while as well. Make sure no one's able to cross these things safely. It's going to hinder them. Maybe not this round, especially it's going to hinder them transportation time. And I'm going to stop right there because Egypt has just now lost the first player, and this is a good sign for anyone in this lobby.
Good sign for anyone, especially Morocco as well, looking to catch that up. It's the second time we see Morocco on a bridge camp. It's the second time it works out for them. As Egypt on the other side, they're just swinging around this lobby with the vehicles. They're just trying to figure out where everybody's playing, but they're getting just paying for it. Again now, it's the last one up. Corona has been knocked down as well. It's a terrible start for Egypt. They're really just falling by the waysides here, and they're opening the door wide for everybody else to catch up.
This is good stuff from Mali again. Unfortunately, didn't really go their way, but I like the split that they had. I like the control, and this is what you need in order to stay up on the leaderboard. Once again, it didn't work out in this instance, but I like the thought of it. I like the thinking process, the strategy behind it. They keep on playing like this. Eventually, it's going to work out. It's not going to work out for Madagascar, though, as we've seen, as they have been limited as the very first team in, obviously, in that very first hot drop. Djibouti, well, as we've seen, picked up these frags, but has lost 2 now in the process of rotating in against Morocco, obviously, as well.
It's the second time that's happened to them as well. It's not only the second time Morocco has bridge camped on Sanok, it's the second time Djibouti wins a hot drop and just gets bridge camped after. Yeah, it's the Miramar, the Partona hot drop had a similar outcome, and it just goes to show how easy it is to get punished in this lobby when other teams are so confident and so comfortable of just completely switching up their playstyle to camp you. And I love that. I love to see it because it's really just a bit of a different strategy, a bit of a different dimension of the game. You're not playing your own game anymore. Almost all of the time in PUBG, you are playing your own game. But sometimes you can just focus on ruining someone else and getting your points that way. And it throws people off and it catches people off guard. And we've seen that with Djibouti now twice.
Couldn't agree more. It's not only about obviously playing your own game. Sometimes you have to adapt. Improvisation is one of the most important skill sets in PUBG Mobile Esports. Making sure you gather information and actually act on it as well in the best way possible. Decision-making, control, we can talk about this so very often. PUBG Mobile Esports really does, obviously, need everything from you. Character-wise, as an IGL, as a player, you need to be absolutely on point on so many different levels. It's not just a single thing to pinpoint. Mechanically, obviously, well, it starts from driving vehicles to inventory management. All that kind of stuff is so incredibly important.
So easy to forget as well. You're just watching the games and you're criticizing if somebody maybe misses a few bullets or maybe peeks a little bit too far. But the complexity of the game is just so mental. And some teams have felt that yesterday. Some teams have not had a good day yesterday. Yeah. Niger is one of them. They couldn't really get a whole lot going. Starting off the hot drop on game 2, things went downhill for them pretty fast. And just insanely hard. Look at that, Nigeria. We talked about them. We said they were fraggers. We said they were aggressive. We wanted to see more. This first exchange has not gone their way, but it's a good trade from Quilla, and that makes it now possible. Somalia has taken the knock. Nigeria has taken a knock. They have to finish this fast, though. This is Sanok. You stick around in the fight, you get third parties.
Yeah, that's what obviously Nigeria said as well. They want to make more fast third-party action happen today. Interestingly enough, there's no third-party action here available, but they will get the rest, though. Aishon is back up on his feet. This is a massive pickup, and maybe they can do something with that second nade. Molotov comes in. They know where Ali is. They should know where Falcon is as well, but I'm not sure they realize that just now. They do! Sean hits the nade, and Falcon goes down. That's the second down for Somali, who's in the middle of the scoreboard right now. This is such a big pickup for Nigeria. They need these points. They said as well top 3 was going to be the goal for today. This is a really good start. We said how important Sanok is as well. To get that out of the way with a good point pickup is in the grand scheme of things so important.
it's just the nature of the game, right? It starts the day, and then wiping Somalia here is a great start to the day. It's a great mental boost, and it gets you into the right mindset. It gets you going. Carryman's knocked on the other side. Morocco is actually taking casualties here, or at least taking some knocks. I'll have to wait and see if that's something potentially carrying over. Yes, Carryman, he's probably not getting rezzed here. He's getting left behind, and Morocco is cruising into what's a pretty risky setup when you look at how much high ground Tunisia has on them. They have to be a little bit careful how they play this bunker entrance, because they have 2 Tunisian members right above them and then plenty of teams in front of them waiting for them.
Could be over very, very fast, and if they don't watch that, obviously these angles, not just above but in front as well, with Egypt right around the corner. Thing is, I don't think they realize that Egypt is in that compound, otherwise they would have reached that already. Let's see if that happens anytime soon. Kerriman now will actually be taken out after that first initial knock. This is a good pickup. I believe it was Mufasa, or at least with the help of Mufasa. And now Logic chimes in as well. Not sure that's going to result in a flush, but at least a good knock, as the big teams are now activating, testing the waters and how far they can really stretch.
These long-range knocks with the ARs costing teams time and time again. Now we'll see South Africa. They said they were going to play a little bit more passive. They were going to play a little slower. Now they have to step it up. They're getting run over here by the Mauritian squad. Bit of a hero for the squad yesterday. Has to do it here again. We see Logic proning on out. If he gets caught here, he's knocked instantly. But he's trying to catch someone before they step on over. Lots of util expanded. So far, nothing found. And it's one of those fights again. They're playing for so much space here. They're fighting for so much. Whoever wins this should have a really good game coming.
It's an important fight indeed, especially for Mauritius. As we said, Sanok, that's kind of the one round that you can control. Oh, this is perfect. Reverb opens it up against Mauritius. Up on the hillside, we said that fight needs to happen now on this phase as well in order to really benefit from the position that they've gathered. He's going for more. Support now shuts him down. It's a quick 1-1 trade. And where's the rest of the team? Nowhere close by. I don't think we expected multiple players from Mauritius to be there that close. But they are indeed, and third-party action coming in as well.
Yeah, they lost Sully. They lost Sully to Niger down on the lower ground. You can see Momo, he's trying his best to play against it, but he can't overstep either, and this is complicating the fight so quickly now. He wants to go for the res, has to be a little bit careful that there's no nade coming in, but on the other side, there's another third party. Nigeria has said hello, and it's just not going clean for anyone. Egypt as well have taken out one more from Morocco, but again gets cleared. The top 2 dogs have both lost members, but everybody else is still playing catch-up.
Mauritius, unfortunately, has lost members as well. So it's actually the top 3, maybe the top 4 that lost players now. Nigeria really being the only one that's now got potential. This is the 7th threat coming in from iRage. This is massive for Nigeria. They've got the chance to do a big comeback now. I said this going into the day. I told this to players as well. I think that's one of the most underestimated lineups coming out of day one, just based off of that performance. Yeah. And look at what they did on Sanok. They make sure the third-party action works, like we've literally just seen. And now they're in a prime spot too. South Africa in front of them, that's going to be the next big challenge, but it's a man advantage on their side. And let's be honest, South Africa with the third party that we've just seen coming in from Niger as well is not going to be left alone in that fight either.
It's a tricky one for both these teams. As you step a little bit too far up on the hill, you just saw it for Sali getting tagged down in the distance from Tunisia. You stay only in the lower ground, you don't really see anything around you, so it's really, really tricky, and you can see South Africa, they're struggling with this. They're not sure how far up they can go, they're not sure how far low they can lay. It's a rough position. Now they don't have to force the fight. Other teams, they're under way more pressure, and Kenya is one of them. Picking up the first few knocks here towards Mali is a great start for that squad who really couldn't get a whole lot going yesterday. This Sanok is going pretty well for them.
Reminded, they're playing as a 3-man, so this is actually kind of nuts that these guys were able to pick up 3 frags in this round. Every single frag that they have, in general, anything, at any point you get, is essentially them starting out with a player down. So unbelievable stuff coming out from Kenya. Even 8 points is pretty nice. If they finish this tournament somewhere around 40-50, I think that's an absolute big W in my books. Because I think they obviously went into this one as well knowing that the chances of actually winning this, qualifying, are incredibly low as soon as they heard that the 4th player wasn't going to be able to come here. Nuts stuff anyways. Morocco, still a tough spot.
I love it as well. They're coming here, and yes, they're a player down. Yes, they know that it's going to be a really rough tournament, but they're still doing their best. They're still playing their hearts out, and they're still trying to represent their nation to their best ability. These are the shots we mentioned earlier. These are the long-range shots from Tunisia coming on in, and they're making this fight so awkward for both South Africa and Nigeria. You can see they've got one up. He's trying to get this into his own hands, but no matter where he goes, the third parties are looking. The Sharks are circling. And this is not going to be an easy one for either of the teams. Nigeria is trying their very best to play this as slow as possible, but they'll have to move first, and they'll have to make a move to the circle. And no matter where they go, it's not going to be easy.
Not going to be easy. Nade in hand. Nigeria hasn't gotten a knock just yet. At least a flash. Obviously, they have gotten a knock, but he's not been pulled through. And Six God has been kind of the anchor player towards the eastern side, the one that is in nade range, and he's been taken down as well. So this is a really good setup right now for Nigeria to kind of reset, make sure they get Quilla back up, who's been one of the biggest entry figures for that lineup as well, and then re-engage that fight. Oh. It's, once again, only one player. Oh, he's been immediately knocked down to the play zone. They could still pick him up and get him into the car, but I don't think they want to risk it.
Yeah,
and they can understand why. Now Quilla has been finished off by Tunisia, so the sideline would have been there anyways. What a far pick-up, and now they have to re-engage this. No knock has been revived on South Africa, though. That should give them the opportunity to re-engage this. Nigeria, they've been so aggressive up until this point. Why not just push down South Africa at this point? But it feels like they do decide to go another way, and the third party comes in anyways, so Sully gets taken out from afar.
Sully taken out from afar. Nigeria has gone to the lower ground. They realize this is a more fightable position. They don't know that no reses come through. They expect, with so much time on the clock, that some of these reses must have come through. And not the right read at the time. Senkai, lazy, they're still sitting in this compound. They're still sitting pretty, and they're harassing everybody around them. You could just see how much struggle they're inducing to that Ghana squad. So many knocks, so much damage coming on out, making this so tough. And that's a classic Sanok for you. You're fighting on the edge. Somebody has a sideline on you from afar. Things are not looking pretty. And Tunisia and Morocco, both these teams in red, are just blood raining down on the lobby. 5 frags have been gathered so far by Senegal. Now on that edge, and there's more just raining on through. And Senkai activates as well. He gets moved fast out. That's a flush. That is so bad for Ghana. Unfortunately, they've had such a great game up until this point. But it looks like Senkai is going to be the man to really shut them down once and for all. There is still more players left standing, but it's going to be really tough. Likewise for Nigeria. He has to make it out of that rope, but I think the sidelines are going to be too tough. That's so hard for both these teams, even for Senegal to make a move later on. They have the manpower at least. They have a chance to make this work. Here right now, Rage, he's going to be sitting. He's going to be trying to survive for as long as you can. But look at Morocco, man, picking up frag after frag after frag. When they've lost 2 members so early, nobody was expecting them to really do anything with this round. They're up to 5 now, and they're going to survive into very late game here as well. There's no way they're dying in their position. And oh my, are they just artists at picking up these points. Ghana is wondering, where the hell did our game just go? We've had 4 up. We were in a good position, but Morocco happened.
I gotta criticize Tunisia just a tiny bit. They realized Morocco was in there when there's still 4 players left alive, and they knew that Morocco was down to 2 players. If you're actually gunning for one of the top spots, not only do you pick up a 4v2 at any given time, also you pick up a 4v2 against one of the top teams that you need to eliminate early anyways if you want to make it happen, right? You're looking at the big picture. It's 18 rounds. You need to do that. So Morocco staying alive until this point maybe shouldn't have happened. Plenty of other teams had the opportunity to do so as well. Kenya now being shut down, and Senkai picks up another one as Shy Ball goes down, and that's Ghana eliminated once and for all.
And that's Tunisia going down as well. The high ground is rough when you have to get down. A good game from them regardless. A bit of a comeback considering how they were standing on the scoreboards, but much more needs to be done. Nigeria still holding on, trying to push themselves up to 4th. We said their goal was top 3, 4th. Very doable this game because Mali got 0 points on the Sanok. And right now, Senegal, a team that we thought was in dire straits, have made a really good transition, and they're ready to make it moves into the circle as well. It feels like they have everything under control.
It really does look like what you said about Niger really making it out of there, but they've now just lost the 3rd player. Oh, well, the 3rd player that was still standing, so the 2nd player in total, unfortunately. Yeah, Senegal kind of takes control with that. They're the last team with all 4 players left standing. As one more player gets shut down, who else to do it than Senkai? And he's got the opportunity to take a 2nd one, as Muji needs to leave that rock side. He gets into the vehicle.
No way!
But Senkai, of course he does it! 7 eliminations out of a position that, yes, it's been a good one inside the circle, but there should not have been that many silence for him to pick up. Obviously, that's his gun skill raining on through, and he's got 11 bullets left. That's how many frags he's got.
That's absolutely crazy. What these guys are doing here as a duo is absolutely mental. And at this point, if Jay gets something going with the nades here, if he weakens Senegal enough, there's a chance that somehow Morocco comes out of this compound and wins the game here. This is not even something that we completely unheard of. These two have just been raining fire on the whole lobby. They've already made this a massive game for Morocco to close the gap. But they're not done just yet here, Filex. They have another chance to just go even more crazy.
They've got the opportunity to do so. What a round to catch up to Egypt. It's 9 points now, and I don't think placements are included at the moment. So if they would win this game, maybe get a second place with a couple of more frags, more would be in it as Kenya goes down as well. It's a 3-on-2, ladies and gentlemen, here at the second day of the Iesf African Esports Championship, as Morocco is looking to pick up the first round of the tournament for them.
They're actually trying to do this. You can see they're not shying away from anything. They're getting aggressive. He spotted him out as well. He's going to get the nade over the top. The shotgun comes out. The nade's better. Malone's up to his knees. And it's 2 versus 1. Senkai knocked to the Molotov. He has to do it with the gun. He pulls it out. 1 HP on Mighty. This is so doable all of a sudden.
And he's lazy. He picked up the frag. He just needs to take him down up close. He takes him down. Lazy, what have you just done? Oh my word. Senegal goes down 1, 2, 3. And Morocco, they might have just done it. They might have just overtaken Egypt with a single round after Egypt takes 4 chicken dinners on the day yesterday. What an amazing performance. And
look at them.
I mean, at one point, we kind of knew it was going to be possible. Doing that 2v3 with that nade to open things up. Senkai.
Look at them.
Oh, my word.
Look at them. They're ice cold. They're ice cold.
Wow.
Oh, my. That was clean as it comes. That was as good as it gets. And like you said, right, they were going to survive in that compound for quite a while, but the fact that they're actually able to decimate everybody around them, nobody even makes the breach on in, and then they just come out and win it. 2v3, you know, no big deal. They weren't hesitating. They weren't shying about it. They were running up. They were figuring out where these players were, and it's essentially, I think, a 1v3 at that point by Lazy.
It's essentially, I mean, that knock, to be honest, that knock from Senkai was definitely a good one. So
Senkai was the one knocked. Lazy was the one opening up the nade.
Oh, he was the one.
Yeah, he got all 3.
Okay, so never mind me. It essentially was a 1v3. Yeah, Senkai at that point. Yeah. True, he was on the right-hand side. He was the first one to go down. So either way, does it really matter? All of these guys have performed up to this point. Senkai getting 7 frags before even exiting the compound to begin with.
That's crazy.
That's nuts. Like, legitimately nuts. He had 11 bullets left. If his teammates had 220, so they must have started somewhere around there. So Senkai was literally back left to
firing off
that's
at
kind of the most fun way to play PUBG Mobile as well. That's such a rare position in esports that you get to do that, right? Having a compound, shooting at Niger, shooting at usually everyone.
You get to do that if you're 4 men up, so nobody can breach your compound. But this game, they were just so dominant that nobody wanted to breach that compound. Nobody wanted to get in. And yeah, I mean, crazy stuff. You expect them, they pull up into that bunker below Tunisia. I think Tunisia was down to a duo at that point, but still, they're in the lower ground. They have people above them. They have people in front of them. They just walk into the compound and they just dominate from there. It's just, again, they're just showing us how goddamn good they are. And that's 21 points for them. As Egypt, I think, have 1. Yeah, Egypt get one flush onto Morocco. Onto Morocco. So,
have they done it?
Yeah, so important flush, but that should be overtaken.
I think so. It's been this is more than 20 points different. This is 20 points difference that they're now caught up on.
And we were at 16 points difference before this game.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
So Morocco, we've been waiting for this first win all day yesterday.
Yeah.
They've had so many chances. They said they just
and this is the game they
lost
win
the focus
with as a duo. Like, what is that?
I mean, Morocco, come on. That's not supposed to happen. But either way, 21 points. Really great game. Senegal as well. It's higher than some of the other teams. Nigeria, telling us that these guys have the individual strength. We've seen that first day as well, and that they want to be more aggressive, taking more initiative, and also be more aggressive on third party. Exactly what they did. Perfectly played. I feel like they should have just pushed away South Africa. There would have been 3-4 more points. They would have gained a little bit more confidence. Desperately trying to make it down the right-hand side where they knew there was almost 0 chance they were going to make it in. To me, a little bit of a calling mistake, but that's completely fine on a best of 18.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to look back at this as well. Maybe now already. I could imagine that they're discussing this right now. Maybe we should have just pushed South Africa because there were 2 knocks down. Yeah. They must have read this on the kill feed.
Yeah, but there was so much time passing as well, right? Those knocks were bleeding. You don't know if they're getting rezzed at that point. You're expecting them to get rezzed because they don't have the information. But especially when they make their way down the hill, I think it was Sean who pulled up into the dip and got shot at.
Yeah.
But he's there alone. If they're pulling up with 3 players, they're probably just stopping and they're killing that guy.
Yeah,
but because he's alone, he falls away from it. He plays it safer, and it doesn't work out for them this game.
Didn't work out, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with the next game any second now. But before that, we'll be heading into a very short break.
With 4, but they can evidently do it with 2. Morocco with the first win of the tournament, game number 7. We said they have to slip today to make things possible for the other teams to catch up. That wasn't a slip. That was a perfect jump, no splashes, 10 out of 10 from all the jurors. That was a crazy game.
10, yeah, I'll give that performance a 10. I'm not sure how. We've seen crazy Morocco play yesterday. aggressive play as well, controlling edges, something that we've seen in... I'll take it back, something I've seen in phase 1, but afterwards not so much anymore in this game. And that exactly is the one round that they win. I don't know, I'm lost for words, to be honest. I'm not sure how that happened. But then again, Morocco was fortunate enough to have almost no team on the southern side, and also was able to harass anyone from the northern side. So no one really had any reason to really breach that compound that they found themselves in. And I got to give credit to Morocco as well in the rotations. Making sure that, yes, we've lost 2 players in the process, but we can still do something with the round and then have the confidence to take that compound. That was complete circle center, knowing that there's going to be a high chance we get breached, but we're doing it anyways. We're not playing for edge frags now. We're still playing for the win. And that's something that they should have done in this lobby, and they did.
That was a confidence win. That was just... like you said, right? They could have stayed in that tunnel. They could have stayed away, and they could have played a solid game from there. But they decide, well, we want to play the compound no matter how many teams were up. And together with Tunisia covering them a little bit from the top, they were able to hold everybody out. And nobody else was confident enough to breach them because they were saying, somebody's shooting us from that compound. We can't go there. 108 points now as they get their first win on the belt, and they push themselves past Egypt, who already had 4 chicken dinners coming up to this.
4 chicken dinners, but still down after 7 matches now. I'm mistaken. 7 matches. That makes
Maths
all of
are hard,
sense. So
man.
this is 7 now, by the way, just in case. But 3 wins less. I don't think I've ever seen this any tournament whatsoever that a team is down after winning half of the games and not in first place. You win half of the games, you're 100% in first place. Apparently that's not 100% anymore because Morocco in this tournament has just been nuts in terms of fragging anyways.
Apparently 100% and not 100%. It is what it is.
That's
Egypt
the story of my life.
has been passed. And as we had a bit of a chance for maybe a Mauritius or a Nigeria to do something, Mali falls completely flat. Nigeria pushes themselves up into 4th. But the gap has widened. The gap has not closed. The Mauritius, we saw them in that early fight, right? They were a little bit hesitant. They were a little bit scared about what was going to happen. Nigeria put up a whole lot of points, but they were way on the back foot coming into this. So the leaderboard is continuing to go the same way. It's just that Egypt had 1 slow round.
Egypt had 1 slow round. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going into the second match of the 2 days that we've seen so far. It's almost getting up towards that half-point line. And so far, it's been the favorites that have just stolen the show up until this point. It's been Egypt, it's been Morocco, and everyone else just trying to just catch up and get a chance at some of these top spots to potentially make it to Riyadh at the stages of this year. We get obviously a chance at the big prize pool that's coming out of Iesf for the World Esports Championship. But so far, as we said, it's been the story of these 2. Well, let's take a look if that second match is going to be any different. We've seen early fights yesterday, and maybe we'll have the same thing happening today. Djibouti, Kobo, is this going to be the first round we might not see them fighting in phase 1?
It's not the first round, but it is one of the rare ones. We've seen them in Zaki before. I congratulated them on their sort of playstyle where they don't really care where they loot. They like to loot edge and they like to jump early. We've seen them jump north a lot on Erangel, and it's been working okay for them. I think they've surprised us in the greater scheme of things. Djibouti is an absolutely tiny country compared to some of the nations that are sending teams here, and they've really been holding their own. So hats off to them.
I gotta be honest.
I gotta look at, there was this thing there. There's 2 teams in Novo, by the way.
Okay.
South Africa and somebody else that I couldn't quite catch.
Is that a contest?
We'll
I am surprised if that really is a contest, but it kind of has to be. If there's 2 teams in Novo, there's no really way. I've never seen teams split Novo.
No.
That's just not
I mean, you can in theory, but you really wouldn't want to. There's just not a ton of loot.
You would have to split it with a road towards the western side.
Oh, it's Kenya, look. Kenya is trying to get away. Kenya is trying to get towards where more of the vehicle spawns are and less of the opponents are.
I like that position, though.
Yeah.
They don't, you can still contest this, despite not contesting originally, if you know what I mean. Like, you can take these positions. There's only so many rotation paths that these, like South Africa in this instance, is going to take rotating away from Novo. And there's only so many cars as well, so it's actually pretty good. So usually, what I'm thinking is, the decision-making into contesting someone on rotations early is heavily influenced by the probability of how many cars would they have. Because the less cars they have, the more valuable your rotation camp is going to be. And that's something a lot of teams forget, right? They solely base it off of they're going to come this way. But if you take that into the variable of when a hot job really is valuable, or like a contest, or like a rotation camp to some degree in phase 1, I feel like if they would calculate that in more consistently, I think obviously it would be a little bit more valuable, some of these camps. But this round, as I said, Novo, I think there's one hard spawn towards that eastern side, southeastern side of the city. Apart from that, I don't think there's another spawn in there.
There's not a whole lot. There's some garages, right? But there's not a whole lot. But you can maybe collect cars on the southern road. You can maybe see what the team above you is doing. But I don't mind this from Kenya at all. Like you said, right? This is a solid position to be in for them. And it's maybe even better than what the South African players have. But South Africa, 4-man up, always in a better position than Kenya. But still, we're looking at that squad and we're hoping that they can do a little bit better because we had high expectations for it. They were my sort of dark horse, right? I was watching the scrims. They were doing really well.
Kenya or South Africa?
South Africa.
Interesting.
They weren't favorites, but they were sort of the dark horse, and I was kind of hoping they would be the ones making it close, and Mauritius is the one that actually has stepped up into that role now. Yeah,
Mauritius has been the one. 63 points. It is almost doubled that. On the next way up, it is Egypt on 104, which is kind of crazy, to be honest, as I said before. Almost doubled that right now, and it's so few games that have been played up until this point, and we're already getting to that stage that these favorites are almost running away with it. It's something that, yes, we are used to some degree in some of these regional qualifiers, with some countries just having plenty more experienced players, but then again, some of these regions are incredibly overlooked. Right? Yeah. Kenya is the best example we just talked about. South Africa as well, Senegal, Mali, Nigeria. These have massive PUBG mobile communities. Some of these guys even played on LAN in their respective countries. Yeah. LANs that you wouldn't even find on Wikipedia because the scene is so big, but they're not necessarily international tournaments. So interesting to see.
Again, the team that kind of fell flat in the last one, Mali, a team that's been very positional, very passive yesterday. And they started the game off with a big 0-pointer, so that's something that's going to hamper their chances here to make the gap smaller, to close the gap that we talk so much about. While Mauritius, yes, they got a few points, but their situation is very similar. They were hoping to make big strides today, and they've really been stopped in their tracks.
Really have been. Mauritius now starting the first rotate any second, just south of the container area. And I think it's not going to take too long for them to meet one of the first teams. But it's been a slow start in this game. One of the first really slow starts. I don't see anyone setting themselves up for rotation frags. I don't see anyone setting themselves up for big splits, which we said as well. Morocco told us on the first day in their interview that they didn't want to go for that anymore. So I'd be surprised if anyone else really has gone for it. Once again, there's more space now with 14 teams, but then again, there's also more potential to get isolated in some of these positions with less third party, just a tiny bit less third party potential.
Slow start to this one. Plenty of teams taking their time. We saw almost a contest on that side of the southeastern side of Novo, and not much else going on towards the rest of the map as Somalia makes their way on in. And well, not something we've seen yesterday.
No, so I get what you just paused. You're surprised as well.
This is the first time we've seen nobody go out in this phase 2 rotation.
Especially northwestern side. We've seen so many fights on that northwestern side. So many fights on that northwestern side happening not only as two parties, it's been 3-4 parties at some point, right?
A lot of the time.
Even Morocco, remember that circle with Mali playing that kind of coastline on the bridge, just towards the right of the cube compound, and Morocco being the team inside, Egypt being the team that obviously played that entire hillside as well. And now nothing's going to happen. Sure, it's a different circle, but still, these teams could go for these rotation camps just as much as we've seen Morocco do in the first game as well.
I love it. I said it before, I love it when teams get a little bit creative, but I love to see this as well. This is a new face, and this is a new kind of gameplay that we're seeing. We're seeing South Africa making their way on slowly out of that Novo area now as well. Kenya has opted to go for the military base, so things have dissolved nicely there. And everybody else is just really taking it quite slow. Djibouti, Somalia getting a little bit close towards that northern shift area, but a uncharacteristic phase 1. And one that should get us into a very exciting phase 2 here, Alex, because we have more people alive than usual. It's going to get more and more stacked.
I think so. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. We will see more fights in phase 2 and phase 3 than what we're used to normally. And you can see these teams setting themselves up for it. But yeah, surprising to me. I think it kind of confirms our suspicions that some of these teams do want to play more aggressive, especially these teams down low, but they don't want to do so at a disadvantage, right? Not at any cost. It's about playing it smart a little bit more.
It's also very easy to say we want to be more aggressive, and it's very hard to pull that off without just going reckless and going crazy. And I think, for example, Mauritius, right? They were talking a lot about how they want to take the game into their own hands a little bit more and depend less on these top teams. But in the first game, just Egypt flies at them in cars, runs one of them over, and they're suddenly saying, like, how do we play aggressive in this? How do we even pull that off? And it doesn't really work in the end. Exactly. It's very easy to talk about it. It's very hard to do it, as we casters do know very well. And that's why we're talking about it, you know?
That's what we're talking, not playing here.
Exactly. That's why we're not in this lobby right now, squaring off versus the likes of Morocco and Egypt.
The two teams to beat. Tunisia, one of the biggest upsets in this tournament up until this point. 19 points only. That's nothing for a team like Tunisia. I talked to these guys. Still confident. They still want to get to top 3. It's just confidence not there. At an all-time low, I want to say. They didn't seem disappointed. They didn't seem hopeless. Not at all. These guys were really enthusiastic going into this day today. But I have the feeling that might change if they don't start to pick things up soon. If they don't start to pick up teams, to pick up more points, and I think that confidence might just dwindle once again. And at that point, it's going to get really, really, really tough to get back. But yeah, they're fighting for top 3 as well.
There's the first few shots being exchanged. Morocco in a compound, no surprises there. They did like their early game positions to be very solid and very solidified. Multiple teams around them already, but they are looking a little bit what they can do with Lazy here, just cruising around. But again, we've seen them plenty of times. Phase 1, Phase 2, 4 guys, 1 compound, and then afterwards they flex on out. But look who's there on the hillside. Look who's ready to try and punish whatever comes their way. Mohamed is trying, he's looking. If somebody from Morocco comes up that hillside, their days are probably numbered. So we'll have to see if that just materializes for the Egyptian squad.
Yeah. Also at this point, I would have said before that first game. Oh, actually, never mind me. That is Somalia going in deep. Wow! I did not expect that to happen that fast. Making it happen all around the ridgeline. All frags have been gathered by them. Not a single player has been taken down. This is a great pick-up coming out from Somalia, who also said they wanted to play more aggressive, played smart, and this is exactly the kind of scenario that you've been talking about, right? Be smart about it. Yeah,
beautiful stuff, and we didn't see that coming. Neither did Djibouti. That first knock was so fast, and they cleaned that up without anybody having a chance. Erengal's not as bad as Sonok when it comes to third parties, but still, we've seen that time and time again in this lobby, right? Everybody is ready and waiting for these chances to pop off around them. So you want to finish your fights off quickly, and that was just textbook from Somalia. Multiple angles on that dip, util being used as well, and then they just peek on over together. So it doesn't really get much better than that.
Doesn't really get much better than that in terms of starting off as well in Phase 2. Somalia needed that. 31 points now. And the point I was trying to make just beforehand is that realistically, after the first game, we all said it was going to be possible, very possible for Mauritius to pick up a game and then immediately catch up. Now the top 2 teams have both scored. I know Egypt hasn't scored a bit, but at least they've gotten a point, you know. But they didn't need to necessarily. They're still above 100 already. Yeah. So now it's more than 40 points different. That's a whole different thing after just a single game, because that was exactly the team that everyone thought they could catch up to today. Yeah. And Morocco has kind of shattered their dreams in the very first round. This is immediately favorites back at work again.
And Morocco had a big target on their back because they were the one that were a little bit more in reach, right? 20 points is a big difference. So you'd rather catch up to the team that's 20 points ahead, not 40. Yeah. Now they're both at 40, essentially, and that gap has even widened. So they're making it hard for everybody else to catch up, and they're putting themselves a bit out of the firing line where now everybody else, maybe you're not playing against Morocco, maybe just playing for yourself at that point and hoping that you can get crazy things going. Circle centers up around the potato area. Egypt in a crazy good spot as well. Once again, good positioning for them. And lots of space here in the middle as everybody's coming in so late.
Egypt, not one of the teams going in late. Quite the opposite. They've been one of the first ones here on Potato Hill. And we said they were looking at Morocco. Morocco has branched out in the meanwhile. They've taken more spades. In the meanwhile, we see South Africa finally starting things off for the second day. For having a quick down, I'm not sure if there's going to be a flush to back it off. I could see it coming, actually. Now that I look at this situation, I could see it happening. Yes, 6 quarters going to get that flush, and Nell goes down. This is a good pickup. That's what they needed against Ghana as well. They've just fallen short to Ghana and Senegal in the last match. A mix of these teams that's been third-partying them. I think Mali has been in the mix as well. And they're immediately fighting themselves again up towards the Snake compound. But it's far from over, Kobo. It's far from over.
This is a fight that's still going to be cooking for a while. Util's coming in. Mufasa is trying to dodge. Spammer has a pretty good off angle here. If he's not known, he can maybe catch someone going for a flank, maybe going for some Util out on that dirt road. And he has a good chance to do some damage. But don't forget, there's 3 teams here. It's not just these 2 squaring off. They have a 3rd team lurking in the distance, a little bit further off to the north. Mufasa wants to get some nades back, but this is a very hard nade to hit. If he does, I'd be amazed. It's not a bad one. But Reverb is a little bit off to the side. Stay safe for now. The blue zone's coming in. We'll have another circle in 30 seconds, but this fight probably not over until then.
Probably not. Nade's going back and forth. I'm surprised Ghana didn't change their positions all too much, because they kind of knew what the one Ghana player was in that compound, and he kind of was nading from the same window 3 times. That could have been a knock from South Africa going in, but instead it's going to be Senegal, not to be confused. It's I know it's tough for the countries, at least for me it is to some degree with the flags, but we have a quick replay coming in from just last game. We saw how quick things can change. That hot job especially was a good indication of that. And who knows, maybe the same is going to happen in this Snake compound as well any second now, because they do need to move that new zone.
They do have to make a move, and there's 3 teams here, more teams looking in from the outside. Mufasa is looking, and it's not him, it's actually Mali who opens things up towards South Africa. That makes the push so much harder. Reverb, he's down in that low ground. He's trying to take things into his own hands, but he's got multiple of these players to deal with, and he's completely left to his own devices. They're getting the res. Reverb is just trying to 1v2 in the bottom side here. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to pull that off. Mufasa with good damage, and they can try to take that 2v1 now if they know that it's that.
I love what South Africa was doing. Reverb is all on his lonesome. He still takes that. Mufasa, what a pickup. That was the only one he needed to win, and he did just that. And now he's probably going to wait and slow things down. There's still Mali in the distance. They're now over-rotating them, but it's been 2 knocks in the meanwhile.
Oh, it's an absolute mess for both these teams. It's not great either. Spammer, he was trying to make something work. Reverb, you could see that he was bandaging up, right? He didn't have any meds to work with. Now he's trying to loot back up, but he's not getting a whole lot from that body either. And both these teams have just put themselves in a position where, yes, you couldn't win this fight, but you're not really going much further from there. The circle will be closing in. More teams around the corner. 6 God goes down, and just nobody is getting out of here. The only team really benefiting is Mali at this point.
And Mali, yeah, benefiting, but not only kill-wise, but also position-wise. They've over-rotated every single one now. Yeah. They used these first 2 knocks to really be smart about this. And look, Mali has been smart yesterday's way. They've just been lacking the fragging power. So the fact that they're still in 4th place and in 44 points, despite never really engaging anyone, they've solely gone for positions almost the entire game. But we saw that on that ending south of Yaz yesterday as well. Not a single engagement has been taken until the very, very end, until they really needed to. So it's going to be back to South Africa now, finishing off that 5. Reverb goes in. Not a chance in hell for Spammer, who's been taken down almost immediately as soon as he entered that shack, UMP in hand. And he will pick up another kill point.
That man does not know fear. He just runs it down. He sees the player in the shack, and at some point he says, it's enough. I've had enough. I'm closing this out by myself. And that's what he's been doing yesterday as well. He's been the man to watch for South Africa. Now it might be a little bit too much to deal with. He's got a full Mali squad right in front of him. He does a good bit of damage, but it wasn't meant to be. Mali, like you said, smarter, better at positioning themselves and getting out of there. They had the beneficial position to start with, but they've used it to great extent. Now they have to make big moves, though. But look at the kill feed. Egypt, Morocco has kicked off, and it's kicking off in style. This is a fight that's fallen apart instantly. Lazy steps on up. Morocco, they're not stopping in this.
No, they're not. Lazy, with a really important frag, is going to close the distance towards these 2 players as well. And this should be clean flashes coming out from Morocco. The big competition has now finally found that fight. And we said it before, this is what they needed. 45 seconds only until the zone closes. And they've already gotten the first 2 knocks. I think Morocco's going to chase this.
Oh, and I mean, Egypt just had to fall away from this. They're getting the flushes now. Corona on the roof, no chance. But look, there's an 8. Madagascar is the team on the north that wants to bring the pain. They want to stop this train. And they're doing so with Util for now. Senkai is on a reset, doesn't want to go for the res too early. He wants to control a bit of area first. Slade cruising around. They're posing some issues here. They're putting some challenges at the hands of these Moroccan players. Marshall is crawling all the way inside. The need to follow. This might get messy, and that's another knock on Senkai.
Yes, it is. They have to go fast and smart about this. Morocco is in deep, deep trouble. Next flush goes through, and I think that's with the support of Egypt as well from the distance. As Lazy, suddenly, last one alive. He almost thought that was an enemy, but it was his teammate indeed. He does go for the res, but his teammate's really down to low HP. Maybe they should have taken a little bit more time on this one. Not the smartest res I've ever seen. As Zegrom and Slade are now closing the distance once more. Inside the building already. Morocco has to defend. No chance at all. Madagascar goes in, and Madagascar is going to be the team to leave the building as well, as they will pick up 3 more frags.
They pick them all up, but look what's happened in the meanwhile. Egypt, they're down to 1 as well. They've lost another member on top. It's not any of the favorites doing well in this round. And it's Madagascar showing us that the underdogs can come up big. It's a clean fight for them. They look so much more convincing in this one than Morocco ever did. You said it yourself. Bit of a questionable res, bit of a panic res at that, and not what you were used to seeing from Morocco. When they are in the driver's seat, when they are the ones deciding what fight to take, they look so good. That was almost shaking them a little bit.
Massive stuff. Madagascar, to have the confidence as well to engage Morocco just like that. Morocco was up as a full four-man. Yes, they had a knockdown in the meanwhile, but no one was flushed, and Madagascar just goes in and shows everyone that Morocco is to be beat, and so is Egypt. There's just one player left alive. But the point still stands. Mauritius has not made a single point, and that still means it's more than 40 points. The distance has still increased, despite all of them having big casualties. Next fight now, and that's a big one. That's against Nigeria, but the chance is still there to turn this around. Quila now with that close-up shotgun. He needs to take this frag. He gets shut down, though. And Jay, the biggest fragger for that lineup, has been able to take him down. Second frag, second flush. And it looks like that turnaround is not going to be as possible.
Kenya is looking good today, but it's a turnaround now for Nigeria. At least one frag being traded. They're looking to get the res. No util in the hands of Sean and Paramore, but they're coming around these smokes. They want to close this. They don't want to stick around here for this fight any longer. Daddy OP, he's down to just 1 HP. He's the last one on the squad, and they're running him down. But look at the HP they have. If he gets this first hit off, he has a fighting chance of this, but he doesn't realize they're already on the lower ground. Kenya, good day today, but they're getting sent to bed by this Nigerian duo. 5 elims, 2-man up. It's a tough edge to be on, but at least they have a little bit of space now.
A little bit of space indeed. Nigeria has made it work. I said the turnaround is probably not going to be possible, but it was possible indeed. 5 frags now, 49 points. They're slowly creeping up the overall leaderboard situation, and they've got some more space to work with. Just 7 teams, and they've got a minute left until they need to go into this one.
This is big, though. This is big. This is Mauritius, Tunisia. We said Mauritius, they haven't really gotten anything going, and just like that, shut down again. They get a few knocks, but nothing that sticks. Tunisia runs them over, and everybody in the lobby is breathing a sigh of relief. They now have the chance to put themselves in a position closer towards the 3rd place. Nigeria as well. They are trying to close that gap. Madagascar has done a great service to everybody else by taking out the favorites. But everybody else is still working on that creep up, and they're tearing each other apart.
It's going to need some more big fights coming out from Nigeria if they want to get some more points on the board. Because everyone around them, yes, they've been damaged, but the close-up teams, they all have an advantage on them. And we've seen how fast things can change. Yes, I mean, Kenya has literally just done it, but I think Tunisia, with the confidence they've got in this round, 4 frags already, it might just be a tiny bit different than Kenya, to be honest, just based off of the early game. Then again, Kenya going out with 5 frags. We have it here. I thought it was going to be Tunisia engaging, but instead it is Senegal, as they slowly testing the waters. They know they can gatekeep this. They know Nigeria has to be the first team to move. So I think they're just waiting for them to exit that dip.
They've been watching them for a while as well. They've seen where these positions are, and they've seen what they can do about them, but they also have to be extremely careful. They still have an Egyptian player on their side. Now Meti Boy finally steps on up. He's been the snake in the grass for a while here, but he does take a frag now, and they will be looking for the second. But Paramol, he's so far gone. It might be Tunisia that actually does take him out, and you can see the confidence of these guys all of a sudden, right? They get a few frags. Yeah. Suddenly they're aggressing everybody. Suddenly they're cruising around the lobby trying to figure out where all these solos and duos are, and really everything that's standing in the way is a 3-man Madagascar, as everybody else is down to almost nothing. Almost nothing.
And Tunisia needed this one. I feel like they should have gone even more aggressive on that edge. That was the round where they just need to pick up every single frag towards the southern side. But the confidence, just a tiny bit is still missing. If they would have watched the kill feed, they should have known as well that almost everyone here is either a duo or a solo. Obviously, apart from Madagascar, but that doesn't even matter. Madagascar's lost a player as well, so they should have info on this if they would have tracked the kill feed. So having the confidence now, wrap around, grab all the frags. You're on 23 points, the first time you've been in any game that you actually have a potential opportunity to take big points. Yes, they're looking to get the win at any chance, but that doesn't always necessarily make it more likely to happen. Just because you play more passively doesn't make it it's a higher probability of taking the win.
They're not playing for position, and they're not playing for kills. They're sort of just stuck in between with one player off to the north, and now they're finally coming back to the south. Now they finally cleaned it up, and now they finally have the space and the information. They should use this now, and they should either pivot to try and take more kills, or they should pivot back towards the northwestern side and make sure that you win the game versus that Madagascar 3-man. but they're a little bit torn in between. They're a little bit unsure about how they want to handle this. And I think they might have stepped into a trap here. The shots are not clean from Eddie Boy. That could have been the ending right there. That could have been the opening knock that ruins the game for Tunisia. But instead, they're pulling up into again. And we've seen that man do crazy things. And it's one knock. It's one knock. That's all she wrote. But this might still be big trouble for Tunisia. If there's Util coming on in, this is almost over.
I think it is still big trouble. That one knock might have just been enough between these two teams. Now grabbing the angles. Look at this Madagascar's activating towards that eastern side, and it's been 2 knocks now with Pew Pew chiming in as well. That's one flush. Tunisia is losing this game, and that's been the problem we've said. That activation was a little bit too late, and just 2 players left standing now. They've still got good chances, but it's going to get so much tougher now.
They have to pull off something crazy here, because now they're stuck in between 2 teams as well. They haven't been able to clear their edge there. They've got Senegal waiting on the doorstep, and then they have Madagascar 3 men on the other side. This is not looking easy. They find a good bait. They find a good knock onto Metiboy at least. Now, if they can try and close this down, but it's looking like Skirp, there's no chance in this. He should not. He's completely outcovered. No chance for him to win that hammer. Wants to run it down, but he doesn't even know where the enemy is. This might be a chance for Nasty Boy to actually pull it off. And it's a 2v1 to keep Senegal in this. The game's over. Madagascar's winning. But oh my. That could have gone very, very differently with just a few frags going the other way.
Madagascar, though, able to pick up that second match of the day. What a pickup indeed. What a pickup they needed as well. Such a small nation in terms of inhabitants, but such a passionate nation, such a passionate country when it comes to PUBG Mobile Esports. And look how happy these guys still are. What a round. One of the first times these guys have played on LAN as well. So I feel like every single one of these teams except Tunisia is going to be really happy about that. And even Nigeria, everyone has made a big step up. Morocco, yes, has gotten some points. Yeah. Egypt has gotten some points as well. The big winners of this one have been all the underdogs.
Yeah, and that's the thing we love to see. That's what we keep talking about all the time, right? We love to see it when the scoreboard gets a little bit more stacked, and you love to see the reactions as well there. It was Senegal, yes, they didn't win the game, but they pull off some massive points there towards the end, and it's a big step for them on the scoreboard. It's a big sign to themselves as well that they can do it, and that they can absolutely mess with the best here, and they clean it up there in the end. Tunisia, again, good efforts, good start to the round, and then they fall a little bit short. They're just a little bit too disorganized there, maybe a little bit too hesitant. It's hard to say from the outside, right? You're not sure what's going on inside the comms, inside the heads, but they keep looking promising, and then they fall a little bit flat.
They fall flat. It's been unfortunate. Tunisia, in my opinion, the biggest upset. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Even with this round, the biggest upset in this tournament. They have really experienced players, definitely regionally experienced players, but also to some degree internationally experienced players. One of the few lineups here that really have international experience on 2 of their players, but not happening. Just not happening at all. Even that game, I think in Morocco or in Egypt in that position, they would have used the cars, they would have driven these guys over, they would have cleaned that edge in a matter of a minute. And Tunisia normally does that as well. That's the big part. That's actually what this lineup does as well. They in tournaments where they know they have the individual advantage, that's exactly what they play. But here on LAN, that's the one team so far where I've seen them being a little bit shy of it.
Yeah, and we can't forget about this, right? We've had plenty of stuff happen in that game, but we have to talk a little bit about Madagascar and what they did this game. Was you touched on it? They 4v4'd Morocco, and they cleaned them up completely. I think they kept 3 alive in that at least. I think they kept 4 alive, lost 1 later. But they convincingly took that fight. No hesitation, rolled them over, good nade to start things, grabbed a few different angles. We could see how much Senkai was struggling there. They were picking up different angles on all sides, and then they cleaned them up in the buildings. That was really, really nicely done. And that's something we haven't seen from them. But that was looking like they could mess with the best. They just have to show us this consistently. They have to do this more. And then suddenly they're absolutely in the conversation. It's just we see these sparks of brilliance from a lot of these teams, and then we see 2 quiet games from them, and we start talking about Kenya, or we start talking about Mauritius, and we forget about what Madagascar did in game 2, right? Yeah. We have to see consistency, and then they could absolutely be up there.
Good stuff coming out from Madagascar. Might be the team to watch for today. From what they've played in the first game as well, it's been, it's been a tough road for them on Sanhok just generally, but you can tell they really want to get into these fights. They've got the initiative to do it. And once again, for such a small nation, same with Djibouti as well. I got to highlight these 2 nations in particular. That's like, it's so few people in that country, but look how much great esports player they still produce. Yeah. It's kind of nuts to think about. I keep on coming back to that storyline. Between these 2 nations, I think they're in the low 7 digits in terms of inhabitants, like actually really low 7 7 digits inhabitants, but
six
still.
6 for Djibouti. They don't even have a million inhabitants.
Yeah, they don't even have a million.
It's a tiny country, but they're really showing up big today. Yeah. They keep winning the hot drops every single time, right? This game wasn't theirs. They got cleaned up by Somalia pretty quickly. But they've been really, really showing us that they can fight, and they can fight as a team, and they can play as a squad. And
such nice guys as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's been beautiful to watch. And I think this is what you can't forget about, right? This is a tournament where, yes, you're only going to send 2 of these teams to the World Esports Championship, but you're kind of still celebrating all 14, and you're happy that everybody's here. And you can tell in the hotel, on stage, we've had so much fun, and all of these guys are so excited and happy to be here. Yeah. It's a bit of a celebration of esports, I feel like, because we're just...
Of course.
We're just in a different setting. This is different.
As we said, it's historic to be here for every single player. No one's going to take this away. Even if you don't take the championship, we've been talking about taking the championship, but even if you don't, like, as a player, you can always come back. And you said this joke yesterday, I think, about talking to your grandchildren about, hey, what have you done when you were in your 20s?
Yeah.
Or even below that. Some of these players aren't even 20 yet.
Yeah.
They're still in their teens. And, I mean, I've casually been participant at the African Esports Championship. Let's take a look at some of these match standings. 19 points from Madagascar, taking home the W within 9 eliminations as well. Senegal and Tunisia right behind at 12, and the disappointing 11.
Yeah, and the back-to-back decent games for Nigeria. We said we were expecting a lot from them. Decent frags, again, getting themselves 8 points here. Is a good point average. It's just you're not as crazy as the top squads, but you are climbing your way up there slowly but surely, especially when teams in front of you are faltering. And there's 2 favorites there in 8th and 9th. There's Mauritius with only 1 point this game. So spots are opening up, and there's chances for these teams. And Nigeria is one of the teams that are taking that, and they're taking it by the horns, and they're trying to ride it to a top 3 today. And so far, they said that was their goal. They're really making strides towards it.
Yeah. Amazing game. Once again, I think it's the second time we've seen some of the underdogs come out, and just generally in these 8 rounds.
Yeah.
But the story still, I mean, the entire story still stands, right? Morocco and Egypt are just almost that far ahead for anyone else to at least have a chance on these top 2 spots. Whether or not that's going to happen, I think it's going to be determined today. That's what the player says. That's what we can obviously see at the leaderboard. So it's going to be tough.
Players are going to go to a short break. We'll have a quick lunch break. I was informed before this, but we will see you guys right after. Don't be soon.
either way, Mali has taken down every single team towards the southeastern side of things as well. And now that opportunity arises for Morocco to hold them out. Kerryman, he's got an angle on this. He's got the nades as well. One, to be fair, only, but that might just be enough if he finds the angle. Mali, I don't think they're going to fight this. From everything what they've seen from Mali is they're just going to try and rotate on through.
Yeah, they're going to try to play this passive once again. Maestro, Tunisia, they're unleashing onto this Somalian squad. They're using their position to the greatest advantage they can. Egypt getting run over on the other side. That's them down. That's Morocco pushing themselves into first again, making sure they're not contested, making sure they're staying where they are. And with nobody else aggressing their compound, they can start flexing out now. They can start looking for these frags because everybody else has just left them alone. This is massive for Morocco. Knowing that Egypt has now been taken out, they only need to focus on that eastern edge, and that big fight that's going to be coming up is going to be so incredibly important for them. Mauritius has found 5 frags already, but that's the only team up towards the eastern side. They've got high ground on Morocco, though, as Reverb takes down Klidge once more. And Somalia has been eliminated just like that, too. Tunisia making it really smart as well. I got to give credit to them. The way they're maneuvering around these open fields, never overextending, that's exactly what they need to do, and they will find themselves in a couple of spots towards the open field as well. These might not be the best spots, let's be honest. I think, if anything, Morocco is probably in the best spot to get a good spot if they fight Mauritius, but they will stay alive for another phase. This is a tournament-deciding fight right here. This is the fight that Mauritius needs to win, but do they know about Marshall on the high ground? I don't think so. Lucifer has got to be careful. They're dodging and weaving around. And Lazy comes on in. He runs him over. He gets the entry. Knock and flush instantly, and that's why it's so hard for teams to catch on up. They just win in these fights, and you meet them at the wrong side of the circle. You're in the wrong position. You just get absolutely rolled. Morocco pulls that one up. They move on further. They might have forgotten about the solo behind them, but they still have 4-man up, and I'm not sure if Paradox is able to pull this off, because Morocco is still well aware there could be someone anywhere around them. And look at this, Marshall is already making his way back up. I think he's in a lot of trouble right now. Marshall, he peeks across the ridgeline. He doesn't peek all the way, but I think the shot still came through, so the information must be given to Morocco that there's still the last player from Mauritius up there. And Paradox at this point, I think it's going to become a matter of time. Question is, does he deny here, or does he actually try to make things happen? Paradox jumps down the right-hand side, walks across the ridgeline. He's going to enter the safe zone any second now, but this angry Moroccan player is waiting on the other side of it. And you can see they're waiting for it. They've got the nades ready. They've got the angles ready. And at this point, as I said, it might just become a matter of time until Morocco really takes them down. Next shift goes up north to some Moroccan prime spot. And there they go. Next frag happens. Hassan goes down long distance once more. And there's more shots coming in from Madagascar this time around. Kill stolen instantly, but where's the rest of Mauritius in this as well? You see Morocco has already flexed back down the hill. They're now bringing the pain to the Mali squad, just trying to prone it out in these field ridges. They still haven't taken care of Mauritius to the north. But if you're Mali right now, your days are so numbered. Everything is a time bomb cooking towards you. And the nades are coming out. Zekrom gets it out of the window. He has more where that came from as well. But he doesn't want to expend it all towards just Mali. He wants to worry about Morocco on top. Madagascar, they've done this before. They've won these fights before. And they're looking to take the fight again here. Look at them. They're pulling up. Pew Pew is already up the hill. They want to go for the win here. They're gonna run into one of the best teams in the lobby, if not arguably the best team in the lobby any second now. And that's going to be Mobile being finished off. Another play and another kill being secured by Morocco just like that. Blue Zone is going to help them on that endeavor. And now, look at this. Paradox is still alive. They might just finally find the angle. Senka has to look around. This is so horrible for Morocco right now. They haven't cleared this play. That's going to mean they can't really focus on what's ahead of them. And that's Madagascar rotating on through. I'm really surprised Morocco really lets Paradox alive. So costly. Even until the later stages. But I think the sidelines from South Africa might just be too good to really push that. Yeah, maybe it's even the rest of the Mauritian players helping from range. Paradox is pretty much done for at this point, but he's done so much damage to Morocco. He's cost them so much time. You see Marshall, it's a bit of a desperation send for him as well. Makes it to the wooden shack, but he's going to pick this up, surely. Marshall. And there it is. Picks it up. That's another kill point secure. That man is going to bleed out for sure. The question is, are they going to get stuck in here? If they get naded here, they're all three in just this one little wooden shack. They really have to be careful. They have to take more ground, Felix. But I think Mauritius has used almost all of that nade. I'm saying that, but Logic takes down Kerryman. This could be disastrous. As you said, the sidelines are really, really good, and they're going to go and fight for this as well. They know Paradox is knocked. Almost another drive-by. What is happening? Fake, he tries to shoot him out of the car, and he does as well. Lazy goes down almost immediately, just like that. It's just 2 players left standing as Lazy goes down 2. This is falling apart for Morocco at the moment. They're done. They're out. They're absolutely cleaned up. They haven't made it down the ridgeline. There were 2 players knocked at the shack instantly, and just like that, Morocco swept aside. We were criticizing Mauritius for how hesitant they were, but in the end, they get it done. South Africa, I think 9 frags as well in the compound. They've been absolutely farming this, but Mauritius has finally put a stop to the big dogs in the lobby for the team they've been chasing. And oh man, this is another game for the runner-ups. This is a game to close gaps.
Yes, it is. Tunisia is finally going to be able to slow things down just a tiny bit.
They want the res.
Going to make it across. Yes, they will want to get the res. I think Scarp has got a pretty good angle on anyone trying to shoot that door. One smoke could be enough to get inside. Doesn't even need the smoke. So Tunisia should be up as 4 any second now. That's the only team up until this point that has really kept all 4 players alive. So this is a massive rest that we've just seen. Hammer, the stand-in for today. He hasn't played yesterday. Yesterday it was Yuhai. He's been out of the running for at least these 6 games today. By the looks of it, he might still get subbed in, but Tunisia will be back up as 4. That's Logic securing more frags. What a performance. Logic, he's on 8 frags.
Yes.
And they're closing the distance now. It's down to a little bit less than 40 points, which is still a lot, but they've got the rich time to do more with this.
This is what they needed, and this is what they're doing. Closing out Madagascar as well, making a stand for themselves. Tunisia has to kill the compound if they want to succeed here. Yes, they've gotten players to the shack, but that's not in the circle either. They've got to breach the compound at some point, and Maestro wants to get the hell in there. Can he make the cross? It's hard. Momo is there to greet him on the angle. The UMP has to do the trick. The shotgun, it does not come through.
Are you
Maestro, how are you winning that?
I have no idea, but the shotgun apparently rains on through and is just about enough to close out that fight. 6 squad has now been knocked inside the building, and Reverb is always going to try to get that race, but first Nade has already been cooked by Ski.
Oh, he knows where they are.
And I think he knows exactly where they are. Nade comes on through. I don't think it's going to hit anyone just yet. I think barely bounced out the room, but the second one is already in perfect place as well. He throws it up top, doesn't go far enough, even to hit anyone at the top, so he's trying to get another one going. But in the meanwhile, South Africa is back up to 2 players, both on 75 HP with that first aid. And it's going to come down to a 4-2 again.
He's bought them so much time, though. That one single knock has bought them so much time. They now have all 4 members in the compound. They have a chance to clear this. Good nade comes back. One knock, almost a second. He's coming around the corner. Reverb, you've seen him do this again. He's 1v3'd in this tournament just yesterday. And now he taunted with the DBS. That's a second. And just like that, Tunisia, they thought they had this in the bag. But it's a 1 versus 2.
He lost the play in the process already. Inshallah, he had the opportunity. Another Molotov comes in. He might just get taken down by the Molotov. I think that's it. I think there might be it. Oh, he barely escapes it. He's able to get back on it. And in the meanwhile, Faker has closed the distance. Mauritius slowly but surely creeping up. At this point, no one's got man advantage anymore. This might be the turnaround that Mauritius needed to catch up to Egypt.
They're making the moves. This whole compound fight is all we're looking at. This whole compound fight is all that South Africa is looking at. But there's the knock coming in. Logic. Faker's already made the move. Logic is getting the angle from the distance. And these 2 teams tearing each other apart. And the compound is opening the door so wide for Mauritius here. They might just clean the first aid.
I don't think he's going to hit that one. Yeah, he can't heal back up. He's got 3 Molotovs down and a couple of energies to potentially get him back up to that 75 HP. Bandage comes on through, but I don't think it's going to be fine until the next fight. I think the revive is going to happen. Look at this. Mauritius, they're setting themselves up now for this tournament win. They need this. This is the first round they've really had an option to really go for that chicken dinner.
Yeah.
And they're trying everything in that control to pick up pick up as many points as they can in the process.
I love it. They're getting so proactive, and they had to. And they're even getting the knock, right, to make this even harder for South Africa. Imagine if they would have killed the solo. They'd be fighting a 2v2. But Faker finds a big opening again. He's got nades to follow this up. Reverb knows as well. He's almost done for. Logic finds the Tunisia solo. It's a 2v2, but with 1 player knocked.
Oh, Logic is
every space in the world for Mauritius to make the play. Logic's going in.
Logic is going in indeed. He just needs to hit 1 single nade. He knows exactly where the players are. Revive almost comes through, but maybe the nade is going to be just in time. Throws it around the left-hand side. That's not a knock. How did that nade not take anyone down? But he's still going for it. The ABS around the left-hand side takes him down. And now Fake on the 1v1 wins this one as well.
No way.
What a comeback. Are you kidding me?
No way.
And that is going to shake up their overall standings big time. The one runner-up team that we were hoping for is going to run around today immediately.
We've been waiting.
Back of that Morocco win.
We've been waiting for days. We've been waiting for hours for them to finally do it. They've been waiting as well. They said they had a plan coming into today, and this is the first game where they pull it off. I was losing hope when they were losing players to Morocco, but they come back and they close this in style. Big game for Mauritius, and everybody else is breathing a bit of a sigh of relief. This leaderboard is getting closer.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the Moroccans, I don't think they're going to be happy about this. The Egyptians not either. Maybe they're going to have to focus on different teams now instead of each other. I think that might actually be the strategy they kind of want to go for in the next couple of rounds. I mean, at some point, you're going to stop and wonder, have you really secured qualification already? Then again,
they clearly haven't.
They apparently really haven't. Then again, it's only Mauritius right now catching up. The rest of the teams, unfortunately, being taken out really early again.
Yeah, and nobody's been consistent, and Mauritius has been the closest at achieving that goal, right? They've by far been more consistent. Everybody else has had sort of these sparks of brilliance. We've had good games from Mali, Nigeria, Senegal. They haven't really strung anything together. Mauritius has been solid yesterday, and today they've pulled up something big. That's a big, big game. I hate to keep saying it, but that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of frags. And I love how they closed out that end game. They did everything right. It wasn't an easy one, but they did everything right to get there. Amazing stuff. 14 eliminations as well. It's going to put them not too close. I think another win is going to be needed, but we've got so many games ahead of us. Yeah. Imagine Morocco going out early again. Egypt going out early again. It just seems one of these teams to kind of mess up. We're only at the halfway mark. In the early stages. Mauritius has another good game. They can catch up. I didn't think... Look, I'll be honest. As much as I like to keep the suspense up and talk about everything has the potential to happen, these teams are just on another level. At least they have been yesterday. Now Mauritius comes into the mix. They have another game like this. They fought Morocco for it as well. They played it really smart with Paradox being left alive up there. Yeah. While the rest of them really were able to cover sacrificing himself. I mean, he was still able to be alive there for 2 minutes because of the sidelines from his teammates. That's how good the cover fire was. So Paradox staying alive there for as long as he did kind of secured Mauritius the round. Yeah. He essentially sacrificed himself, and they get 24 points in this one. Morocco with 5, Egypt only 4. And it's exactly what we're talking about, right? We've seen this is a crazy game from South Africa as well. This is a big game for that squad, but they're not able to just chain them together. They're not able to consistently pull this off. Neither is Tunisia. Once again, good show-in from them. Really good, especially like how they took control of that field and how they transitioned it into the compound. Lovely stuff, but they haven't been able to chain that together, and Mauritius has been by far the closest to be able to achieve that. If they can play another game like this, then suddenly everything is back to reset. Everything starts from 0, and then we're playing a best of 9. Playing the best of 9. Who would have thought? Who would have thought at the start of this game? Let's take a look at some of these head-to-head statistics. 10 frags for South Africa as well. This is a massive shake-up for these guys. They've roamed around that southern side really, really well. I thought it was going to be Tunisia, honestly, with these 10 frags, the way they've played around that open field. But I think they haven't quite gotten that. I think it must have ended at 7 maybe. And obviously that push right across. I feel like that's where it should have happened, to be honest. That push across from Tunisia. That was, I think it was Tunisia's game to lose. Now that I look back at it. Yeah, well, I mean, they have to breach the compound, right? While they're getting shot from a distance. Not always easy, but the sidelines, I mean, you can drive around these sidelines. Yeah, let's be honest. Two players covering. They're still driving into a 3-man compound. I feel like that's never going to be an easy task. But they do win a big battle on the entry, and that's the only way they stayed alive, right? Remember the UMP versus DBS in the workshop? Fair enough. If they don't win that one, they're in big, big trouble. But because they do, they have an opening and they have a chance. But South Africa, I think, did a good job holding that. It's just they couldn't, in the end, out-sustain the pressure that Mauritius was putting down. They were not in a winning position anyways. I think not after that fight was so messy. Even before, arguably, even before that, I think. Well, that's the question, really. Where would have that where was the last zone, the really last zone? Because I don't think we've been in phase 8 yet. So I was actually expecting South Africa or Tunisia to take either fight really convincingly, and then I was expecting the zone to shift away from the compound. At that point, I thought actually Mauritius was going to have the advantage. But if that wouldn't have happened, maybe South Africa would have been in the win as well. But man, what a round! I think there's, as we said, some big shake-ups coming in now. Mauritius with chances to catch up to Morocco and Egypt, something that we didn't think was going to be possible, but apparently it is now. They've made our dreams come true. We have to be happy casters now, and we have to look how everything shapes up after the next few games. That was half of the day. That was only half of the tournament now after game number 9. We have 9 more games, and we're going to show you 1 more Erangel and 2 more Miramars after the break. So don't go anywhere. We have a lot more PUBG Mobile for you coming up in just a few minutes. Oh, yes, we do. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at the cusp of something great, at least in terms of suspense. Mauritius has made a comeback, even though it is a tiny one with how big the difference still is on the Europa leaderboard. But there is an argument to be had that this might be the start of something big. And that's, I guess, what everyone's been hoping for. Because Egypt and Morocco, they've been running away with it for so very long. And we've been waiting for it. Let's be honest. We've all been waiting for it. It was unspoken, but we've been waiting for it. Uncharacteristic that they both dropped the ball like that. Morocco as well. Really good position early game. Really good position mid game. They pull back from their split. They play rather safe. They even have a setup for a breach coming on in. So really good stuff from them. And then they have to pull up into those players, into Mauritius setup. and they kind of win the first engagement, but it takes them so long, and it takes them so long to get out of there that their game actually ends right there. So a bit of a, I guess, in a way, a trap by Mauritius, but also just really, really rough for Morocco to get out of that situation, and that opens the door for thing we've been waiting for. And yes, you know, we're a little bit biased, but we're biased for the tournament. We're biased for the tournament to get exciting.
Definitely.
And yeah, I think this was a big signal as well to teams like Egypt, who were incredibly far ahead yesterday and who haven't really had the day today, and now things are getting a little bit closer by the second.
Question is, do you think it's going to be possible for today? I mean, mathematically it is, but I mean, this is more of an opinion now that I'm going to throw into the room. I think it's going to be possible for someone to catch up to Morocco and Egypt today.
It's absolutely possible, but possible is a pretty wide term, right?
Yeah, but that's okay. So is it going to happen?
Would I bet my money on it?
Would you bet your money on it?
No.
Okay, so he's saying it's not going to happen today. But
you know, my heart again says yes.
Let me rephrase this.
My brain says no.
What do you think the difference is going to be going out of today's matches between second and third?
I think going out of today, we're around 30 points different between second and third.
That's an overly realistic and not subjective.
I'm German.
That's
what do you expect?
I would like to have a little bit more spice in there. I'm going to make it 20 points. I think 20 points is kind of higher up on the more unrealistic end of things, but it just needs one more good game from Mauritius with Egypt or Morocco. And that's the good thing now for Mauritius. It's either team. If either team doesn't point, they'll be making the difference smaller because obviously Morocco and Egypt are just that close to each other. We will be having another hot drop though, and that is Djibouti. Once again, unfortunately, I really would like to see just a 4-man of them not going into fights and you know, showing the world what they're made of. As we know, these hot drops can be somewhat problematic for no matter the team, even for a team like Morocco or Egypt.
This is a 3-man one.
This
is
around,
a 3-team hot drop. This is not something anybody wants to get themselves into.
Wait a second. Yeah, Niger's in there as well.
Yeah.
There ain't no way.
There's 3 teams in here,
my
folks.
Lord.
There's 3 teams in Primorsk, and the circle could really not be a whole lot further away from them. So this is not going according to plan for anybody involved in this right now. And you can see as well on the minimap, they're spread nicely apart the city. I almost want to give it to Senegal here to have kind of the best spot in this, as they are a little bit more isolated and they can crunch a team like Niger in between the 2 teams. But it's not looking great for anybody involved. There's not that many cars in Primorsk either. So getting out of this without fighting is going to be even harder.
Let's see who's going to get the first frag. That opening is going to be so important in a city like Primorsk, where it's all about angles, all about covering these vast distances and making sure you get enough loot especially. So there's many buildings in there, but many buildings that just don't have a lot of loot. So having enough loot for a 4-man, even a 4-on-4. This round's a 4-on-4 though, is problematic. So this time around it's going to be even tougher. And I think Mighty has just, unfortunately, been the victim of that. They are going to try to get that revive going, but it's going to be really tough at the sidelines from Niger. He's all out in the open. He tried to make a play across the street. I'm not sure if that would have been a play that really would have worked, even if the sidelines wouldn't have been there. But I say that Malone has made the cross now, and they are getting the revive, but they need a whole lot more smokes to really make it past.
Such a rough cross for them to make. They were trying to disengage from this. I would have almost preferred if they had him stay there and had the other team members aggress on this instead of making such a rough cross across the open. Now that's cost them smokes. That's cost them a lot of time, multiple meds. This is not exactly how they want to start off their hot drop, but luckily for them, the third party in this has not done anything with it, right? They haven't engaged this. They're taking more and more damage, but they are getting away with things for now, and they should be able to reset this. But like you said, not a lot of loot, not a lot of cars. Even if you manage to reset this, you're not really going into a position that you want to be in.
Both players walking at the same time. This is a good crossfire. I think Matty Boy was there to support his teammates. This has been really well played, and Senegal will be getting out of this one unharmed. That's crazy. I mean, just judging by the positions, Niger, I think they should have opened a little bit more angles on this. Even if they don't want to take the full 4-on-4, just denying the rest would have been incredibly important. So maybe getting to Muji's position a little bit earlier would have helped them to secure that knock. But no one really had the weapons for it as well, right? It's such a long distance. The micro Uzi isn't really beneficial at this point. No. It's going to do like, what, 10, 12 damage? So you're going to need a whole mag, essentially, to really take someone down to that distance.
I think we saw a tag coming out, and it was a 9 damage tag with the micro Uzi on that range.
Come on, man.
That's a lot of bullets you have to land, and that's a lot of long-range shots for an Ironside micro Uzi. Djibouti, on the other side, has repositioned. They have swung it down south to maybe catch off Senegal a little bit, but so far it's a standoff So far, it's not benefiting anyone. And if Metiboy can get a freebie here, if Metiboy can get a nice little knock for himself, then he can make that even more tricky. It's getting a little bit convoluted now. It's getting a little bit messy as all of these teams are just taking their feelers out and getting a little bit closer. The looting part is pretty much done. You're not really resetting into more loot anymore at this point. You're really looking for the knocks for the openings, but it tends to be the team that makes them a first move that is the team that is punished in situations like these. So it's just so hard to maneuver.
Incredibly hard to maneuver indeed. And there's the next knock coming out. It's King Kilva. Takes down Nasty Boy. He might even go for a second one. It's Izzy Boy instead, though, who's trying to find the window on Meti Boy. Oh, he's cooking the nade instead. I think this could be a perfect nade, Izzy Boy. I don't think he knows there's something flying towards him. Takes down to 30 HP. But in the meanwhile, it's Djibouti getting the flush. Oh, he might have just cooked that. That might have been a problem. Izzy Boy can get the nade thrown into the window, but at least he's not going to be finished by his own one. Instead, the smokes are coming out, but it's a quick 1-1 trade.
It's a messy one, and it's a trade, and that's terrible when you look at a different team in the same location, right? You're looking at a third team that can always come to third party. This is almost a flush on the nade as well. They want to get the reses in the smokes, and they have to pray here that Senegal doesn't have more util, because any Molotov, any nade coming into that smoke would instantly get the second player knocked and the player flushed. That would be a disastrous, but for now, they will get away with the reset, because no utility is found on the side of Senegal.
No utility anywhere to be seen. And it looks like it's going to slow down again. No smokes means the cross is going to be tougher. Almost no medic means you don't really want to peek this. King Kilva can't even. At this point, he's really at the mercy of when is Niger going to peek. Because as soon as they do, King Kilva is going to be done. He's going to rotate back just in time. I think there's barely been no sightlines up until this point. Any second, he starts running. Any second late, he's going to be caught by Niger. So Niger repositioning really nicely right now. Look at the fourth player from Niger as well, rotating all around Djibouti. So they've essentially got the best position right now.
Yeah, but they're so passive with it. They haven't even moved across the buildings, get a little bit closer. They're really, really, really scared of maybe an anchor player, maybe somebody holding down an off angle. They're playing this extremely slow. Now Jabba wants to make a move out of the city, and that might be the one that costs them. That might be the one that actually does get them knocked, but the fight will be drawn out more and more and more. And everybody else in the lobby has slowly concluded their looting phase. And just have a look at the inventory on these players. These guys are stacked. These guys are ready to go pretty much. And then maybe we'll come back to the hot drop in a second, and you see it's night and day difference of what these guys. Look at this: 3 vests, 2 helmet, 5 nades, 5 smokes. These guys are ready to go. These guys are ready for a great game, and they're already in decent positions here, going towards the center of the circle. And now look at this inventory. Nothing, absolutely nothing for him, and he's miles away from the zone, and he's lost a teammate. This is what hot drops cost you.
Yeah, it's going to get tough, even rotating out. As you said, the cars are going to be the biggest problem. Because usually, I mean, realistically, where they are positioned is like the closest to the car spawns, to like the one hard spawn, but I don't think they've taken it. And they can't at this point anymore. So I think that should have been the first goal. I don't think they did that.
Oh, he doesn't know.
Look how close this is. He's going to stand up. He's going to see Eagle. And Eagle is still going to be able to take him down. How did he just do that? Eagle, what a turnaround that has been in that fight. And what an important one as well. He's got 1 med kit to work with. And that's about it. He uses the nade to potentially get the flush. Little does he know, player is far away from that nade, but he's going to be able to reposition for the time being.
And he's got a first aid as well. Not a lot of players in this fight right now have first aids at all. The blue zone's already there. It's already ticking down. They have to stick that res nice and quickly because the blue zone is doing the damage. A bit more util comes over the top, but no more lethals to be found. Can peek right over the right side of the smoke. He might catch them both in the spray. He does find one. Second player's low as well, though, on the prone. And he doesn't know the res has come through. This is a disaster for both of these teams, but Eagle is doing so much right now. But look at this. He's going to go down to play zone.
Yes, he is. That shot came through. Eagle has been set down. No one, absolutely no one comes close to Eagle at the moment. No one has rotated out of the city. Niger, unfortunately, losing Eagle here for absolutely nothing. Despite his hard work, it's going to be in vain. And Nasser will be able to pick that one up. Surely they're going to rotate off now.
Oh, it's a disaster, though. It's like he's costing them so much time there. Djibouti, multiple knocks, so much damage, so much meds expended, but it's 0 points
for
well. Niger there as well. Look at Mohamed. He got away with a scare there. Is he starting to stay alive through this? He's taking a lot of damage. One more bullet, maybe. Yeah, he has to jump out. And Egypt, once again, it's not been their day, man. The crowd is happy about this. The crowd is all Moroccan. But Egypt is really just not able to continue their form from yesterday.
No, really not. Egypt, first casualty. Going to be tough to get back to a 5th win now on this one. And we are closing in on the end of the second day. Just 2 more matches afterwards. It's going to be Miramar, which will be ending the day. And let's be honest, Egypt, not a single big round today is something I did not have on my cards. Not at all. I thought Egypt, sure, they might not win 4 games again. There's no way they win 4 games again. Not with Morocco showing off like that in the very first one. But I thought at least something was going to happen for them. So far, absolutely nothing.
And there it is, Mauritius, knock and flush, picking up a kill. This is something they've been very good at, consistently grabbing these single points, these single little itsy-bitsy steps on the leaderboard. Morocco, though, in the kill feed has picked up a knock onto Kenya. That's a long-range one. I don't see them getting the flush on this, but it's a bit of damage. But look at the, did you see the kill feed there? Djibouti is losing members to the play zone right now. If you're looking at the live leaderboard towards the bottom, you'll see Djibouti. They have barely any HP left, and they probably have absolutely no meds left. These guys are just walking on nothing right now. They're pulling themselves along on their own hair at this point, and it's just been an absolute disaster for everybody that's in that hot drop, for everybody that's tried to hot drop in that Primorsk area.
Not a real winner out of that 3-party fight, which is what we expected, realistically. There almost never is. How many sightlines these teams have, it's always going to be that one team that, unfortunately, is going to be forcing their fight too early. That's going to be third party. South Africa, on the other hand, not anything in terms of South partying. Third partying is South partying. Oh, that makes sense. That's happening in South Africa as well, I'm sure of it. Either way, first frag on the board, 49 points now. As Falcon starts it off, and that's Lazy going down. That's Lazy getting taken down by Madagascar, the team that has now made their way into 4th place from starting it at 7th. Well, they originally opened 55 points too. I want to see where that is.
And it's Egypt who makes that happen as well. It's Egypt who gets the knock, and then it's stolen away by Madagascar. So once again, they meet each other, and they try to meet each other, and they ruin each other's games. Now, Niger on the other side of the circle there as well, bleeding out to the play zone. They are not making it in anywhere. And you can see, we're looking at where every player is. That's inside the zone. These guys were around the Primorsk area. They're not going to make it here. Djibouti as well, losing more to the play zone. It's a disaster for the Primorsk hot drop. And it's a good circle here for some of the teams towards the southern side. It's a good circle for a team like Egypt, who didn't have a whole lot of space, but just got to shift towards them.
I'm calling it again, Kobo. This is going to end outside shelter, like on the street west of it.
Okay.
I'm just going to put it out like that, so you can
I'll
be impressed once more.
Okay, I'll be impressed.
You haven't given me the credit I am due.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping
I haven't given you the attention that you crave.
Thank you so much. That's exactly my point. Somalia
I'll try my best.
Somalia goes down on the meanwhile. I'm so surprised. Mali, they've been passive all day. They've been passive all day yesterday. This round, they chased Somalia into the ends of the world.
Yeah.
All down to the coastline and said, you guys are not living in this round. They chased them down. They got them the frags. Mali is making a little bit of a comeback.
It's a change of pace, at least, right? It's a change of pace, and they're going for South Africa now, and they're outnumbering this man absolutely. Momo goes over the top. Bye-bye, Sally. Good night. And it's a second pull-up as well. They're taking the 1v1 in Lipovka as well. They're not winning it out instantly, but oh boy, Momo, there's no HP left, and there's a shotgun around the corner, and just like that. They're taking fights all of a sudden. I love to see this.
I love to see it as well. Karamogo is going to be able to flush the 6 god any second too. And Mali, they're keeping that edge clear. We were talking about control all day long. This is exactly how you establish control. Keep that edge clear. And this is important on the eastern side, especially. Soon you have people inside that city or even up on the hill towards your north. It's so tough to move around. It's already a relatively weak side. There's a few spots to really play into. There's a few kill potential. But they still have to be careful. Reverb, he's got the opportunity. Almost doesn't make it, but he does in the end. And he's going to take down a second one. Reverb! Quick double to start this fight and turn things around immediately. 2 players still knocked. They're having on the flush on 6 god. Everyone can still be resting this.
This is the man that's been really doing a lot of the heavy lifting for that South African squad. Reverb, he's been putting up numbers. He's been putting up clutches left, right, and center. And now the 2 teams that have a Momo on their squad, Mali and South Africa, are facing off with a few reses coming on through, but they've both lost members. Like you said, though, South Africa can get the reses. Mali can't say the same about themselves, and with just 1 player left standing, they were in a rougher position to go with. Momo now and hasn't even first aided yet. He's gotten the smoke on out, but the aggression is there from the squad, and South Africa are looking to close this.
Reverb pulls up to the rock, and I think he's just going to try to pick up his teammate. That has to be a really fast rotate, and he's already given up on it, I think he's already given up on it. Now the revive comes on through. This is dangerous, but it might still work. I think it isn't. It's still phase 3. 10 seconds. He's got 10 seconds left to heal. and he's going to be rested now. And he's going to drive into the safe zone. That might be too late.
Oh, I'm not sure about this. I think it's cutting it very close, but he might just get inside in time. The tick is going to happen. But there's players already in that area, but they've just gotten in just barely by the skin of their teeth. Okay, they have to now worry about Momo in their backside. They have to worry about whatever is in their front. I think that was a Senegalese solo, but they've taken care of it now, and they have kept members alive. Momo in the blue behind them. He's going to have to first aid very soon. Shouldn't be the biggest threat, but I'm looking at this kill feed, and I just continuously see single kills picked up for Mauritius, and they've already picked up quite a few here, Felix.
Yeah, it's been quite a few solos that have been taken out. Mauritius in prime spot now to close the distance once again, and Egypt has lost a player, be reminded.
That's another one.
Morocco as well, and there they go. Nel taken out. I think that's been Ghana. I think that's just been taken out of the running.
6
and
already.
Mauritius, yeah, 6 eliminations. Mauritius, they just continue to surprise us.
Yeah.
And what a round, what a miracle that would be if they would make it work in this one to close up towards second place. Maybe even, I mean, overtaking them is almost impossible.
No, but closing the gap is what they want.
Yeah.
Closing the gap is what
you might use your words. 30
yeah.
You said 30 points.
You said, yeah, for sure. I'm hoping that I'm not right. I'm hoping I'm not right. I'm hoping this gets close. I'm hoping this gets exciting, and everybody is just giving them a chance right now. Morocco, Egypt, neither of them has been able to continue the form from yesterday, and they've been continuing to ruin each other more than anything. And instead of both running away with things like they did in the first 6, they are now opening the door, and Mauritius has finally found their footing. They've gotten the foot in the door, so to speak. Tunisia, a team that I've been super interested to watch because they always seem to make really good plays at the start of the round, and then they kind of crumble towards the later stages.
Yeah.
Once again, in a solid position here, lots of high ground, lots of information. We'll see what they do with it.
Egypt, meanwhile, holds on to these western positions.
Another one for
Mauritius.
Mauritius.
1-1 split. Yes, they just keep picking up frags. I'm not even sure how that's possible. Question is northern side really the best entry? I'd argue it is, actually. Rotating into the mentioned forest is one of the best positions you can play off of. And actually, I'm saying that, but they've made their way around almost towards the eastern side of things now. Lucifer is driven all the way back to like the prison area? How the hell did this happen? Mauritius, they were just back towards the northern side, or is this a big split that's going on? I mean, Mauritius is all over the map right now.
Yeah, and Egypt is getting knocked again. Egypt, yes, they had again with a FAMAS. We've seen that man essentially pull a 1 versus 6 with 3 gear and a FAMAS yesterday. Now he's the one getting knocked while trying and loot that airdrop. He's the one flushed as well, and Egypt falling short again. Tunisia bringing the pain. The Moroccan fans are happy in the arena, and Egypt is just wondering, where has it all gone? How has it all fallen apart so quickly? Morocco as well. Still alive, still 3 men strong, still chilling out. But look at this again. Mauritius is really doing what they were coming here to do today. They're really just pulling up in these fights, and they're taking them so aggressively, and it's just really working out.
It's working out amazingly well. Nade comes on through. This is a good nade as well. Reverb, it's right on top of him. And Logic, what a Kobe that has been. 2 nades to really flush it off. This is amazing team play as well. Logic and Fake on the first frontline push. Immediately, same time, good communication popping out these frags. They have to be careful though. Tunisia is somewhere towards that south side. I don't think the sidelines are going to be perfect, and you can see Logic, him proning down means they realize this.
They know their angles, they know their pressure is coming on in, and they've probably even heard Six God just completely disengaging this. They know, okay, last member has left the area. They have to be a little careful still. They're in a bit of a pinch between multiple teams, but now with Morocco getting a little bit antsy on that northern side, maybe Nigeria is busy enough. Remember, Nigeria is up to 2, and it was Mauritius who took these players down. So if they get it in another scuffle, if they get it in another bit of a fight, then now Mauritius should have a really good idea. This is a duo. Okay, we can take this fight even if it doesn't look like it.
And look, Nigeria takes 1 frag on Mauritius, but they immediately have to reposition and refocus. Ooh, that nade! Aishon gets taken down. Excuse me, no, his teammate actually. Rage gets taken down, and Aishon immediately taken down right after. And what a cleanup. Madagascar, I mean, they're making a little bit of a comeback themselves. 7th to 4th, we said it already. I know 3rd one is probably not going to be possible today with just 2 matches remaining, obviously not including this one. But, I mean, the decision-making, completely different.
Yeah.
These guys seem like they have a new lineup going on today.
Again, that's the thing I've been talking about, is these sparks of brilliance, right? Sometimes they just pull off a game that looks so clean and so decisive, but they haven't been able to string them together just yet. Egypt is still struggling on this eastern edge. They're still making their way into Tunisia. That's really trying to hold them out. That's really doing their best to hold that prison side clear. And it's not easily done. They're holding the entire prison area on all of the outsides, holding all the angles for themselves. And so far, it's been working. So far, they've been able to hold their ground. But losing Master here has really just hampered their game a little bit and hampered the amount of space that they can actually take.
This is going to be the biggest challenge for Madagascar now. Making sure they can clean up Mauritius without losing a player. They do have one player man advantage. I'm not sure how Mauritius really got that one player flush, but if the next one goes down, Zora is there. And the Madagascan fans in the crowd are obviously cheering very loud than this one. 6 God, though, takes down Pubgm. That's a completely different story now. I don't think they knew about South Africa being in the mix as well. One more nade comes on through. It's really close to Logic. He's already been taken down to 60 HP, but he barely survives. He holds on to D alive. 2 of his players right in front of him. Knocked. Pre-fire comes on through. Sekrom gets taken out just a tiny bit. That was 1 bullet connecting, but I don't think it's going to be enough. 2 players left. 2 players towards the right, and now just driving on through. Zora, he gets taken down, though. I think with the exploding car, I know it was the nade from Slade. Doesn't matter, though.
Yeah.
Because they found the last Mauritius player, and now it's just 6 God to worry about.
Well, it doesn't matter for Mauritius. It might matter for Madagascar here. They're in a lot of trouble now. They're just up to 2 members. They're lucky that Tunisia is not able to benefit of this, not in a position anymore to punish. Vixot finds himself 1, but there's the pull-up from Morocco. This is a bit fight for them, and instantly they're going down. It's just Senkai left alive. He's driving away from things. It's all falling apart. They tried to breach Kenya here. With only 6 teams alive, there was plenty of space in the circle, but they wanted to go for the breach. They've been punished, and now it's just Senkai left, just completely evacuating the situation and hoping he can stay alive just a while longer.
Senkai in a huge trouble. Jay is shooting at the car. He's open for the car explosion, but I think that's already happened. I'm not sure. And Senkai, first things first, gets the level 3 gear. I mean, he's got his priorities straight. That's fair. P90.
P90 as well.
Getting that one into his inventory. It's the game changer most of the times, actually. I'm saying it can be, but most of the times it really is. An air drop just like that can finish an entire round just by its own.
He's got a 1v3, though.
Thing is, though, yeah, he's got a 1v3. And I mean, essentially, 1v11. Let's be honest. I mean, everyone is looking at it.
Even just for a few points. Like, he'll have Kenya just knocking on his door there, and it's just a few seconds. They know exactly where he went. They know exactly where he came from. And they will want to close that out. Egypt as well. You saw them peeking on over, eyeing on over. They know as well that that's the team to beat. But so far, they are in survival mode. And somehow an Egypt duo is alive in this still, as everybody has just bled players. Nobody stayed clean in this. Kenya is the only team that stayed clean in this, but they started with 3, so no 4-man rosters left alive. And I'm not sure, once this goes to the open field, who's really in the best position here.
Okay.
Nobody has a ton to play here. Everybody has to kill the teams around them to really have super playable spots.
I'm not so sure. I'd argue Madagascar's got the best spot.
They're but they're completely open to Kenya. Once they kill Kenya, they're
really.
completely
They've got
fine.
ridge lines. There is a couple of ridge lines, a couple of trees. And I think Kenya's going to have more trouble rotating out of it than they have. Senkai, though, picks up Jay on the rotate outwards, but he's being taken down to 1 HP. Oh, how is he staying alive? He makes the run to the car. Senkai, he's holding on for dear life, but he's still alive. That's the one thing that he's got going for him. You might be mistaken looking at the live leaderboard right now, thinking Morocco's out of this one. No, that sliver of HP, that's the one that Senkai still has. And Utopia has just been knocked too, but Egypt, they've realized this. Opening up these angles from Kronai could be massive. Senkai got the player right in front of him. He just needs to hit the nade. He doesn't even need to survive to confirm this. Nade comes out. He doesn't realize he's right in front of him. And Senkai, he has done it. 1v3 against Kenya. No one's going to be left alive after rotating outwards.
How has he done this?
And he picks up more frags. I think one of them has gotten... they have to have been stolen by, I think, Egypt, but he still secures 2 out of absolutely nothing.
How has he done this? How is he stuck alive in this? We said he would have to 1v3, and he essentially does just that, sticking to life here. A few bandages buy him a little bit of HP back. Egypt wants to nade him out, but they have things to deal with, and there is the clear. Egypt put a bit of a stop to it, finally, but they've let him get the points already. They've let him extend the gap. They have to close out the game now. They have chances to do so. The rest of the circle is fighting each other.
You said Madagascar wouldn't have the best options.
While Kenya was alive. Where's Kenya? You see them? I don't see them anymore.
I am definitely right. I'm not retracting that statement. I am not retracting that statement. But yeah, I mean, 1 smoke apparently is all they needed. But yeah, Kenya not being alive obviously is going to help them massively. But Egypt now has gotten some angles on them. I want to see Madagascar get out of this one now. This is kind of their biggest challenge. I said it before, the chance to get Mauritius. But just in general, that round is the biggest opportunity and challenge. Opportunity to show us that they've got a chance at this tournament. Still making a comeback, at least top 3. And also challenging this round in terms of the fights they need to take.
Look at this, though. Look at the minimap, and there's 3 teams alive, 8 players. 2 of these players are controlling 40% of the circle. Egypt has expanded into both sides, and you're stuck here wondering, why isn't Kenya on this rock? Why don't they have the control? But they just ran into a rock that's called Senkai, and It wasn't meant to be for them. Now Krona, we've seen him do this time and time again, take a little bit of space, realize that he can put out pressure, but he doesn't overstep. He comes back, they slow it down, they have phase 7 and 8 still coming on in, so they don't have to rush this all too much. And as soon as teams are figuring out where they are, that man advantage can go against them. So I like that they slow it down a little bit here, but Egypt is not out of this at all. I think they're a real contender to win this.
What a shot.
And Arthur is making them work for it. Puts down 1, and that's a hard rest to get if you're Tunisia.
Yeah, that's an almost impossible rest at this point. I mean, what a shot coming out from Arthur. I think that was 4 shots and 4 connects. Yeah. I think he didn't need anything more than the 4 shots, of maybe 5 shots at this distance that M4 put out. Glacier skin as well. I like it. I love to see it.
He's waiting as well. He's hoping somebody goes for that res. He's hoping he can put down another player.
I don't think they are, though.
Yeah, they're not going for it. I don't think they should be going for it. He's just hoping. He's waiting now. Maybe a car play comes out, but this is not a res. You should try to go for it. This is where you cut your losses if you're Tunisia.
Madagascar could steal this away as well. I think they realized this, but they haven't quite gotten the confidence up until this point. And look, Egypt is now taking control. This is exactly what I wanted Madagascar not to let happen. Egypt is taking positions, even though they are 2 men, they're not controlling. They're out controlling the game, actually. That's what I'm trying to say. So Tunisia kind of hindering Madagascar's chance, but Madagascar, to some degree as well, hindering themselves. As soon as they realized that Egypt was driving all around and Krona was having that much space, I think you have to take counteraction. Question only is has there really been an opportunity to do so? Because Tunisia might have just been able to backfill them if they breach Krona at that rock. So it's a tough position. That's why I was saying earlier, that's the biggest challenge. And I think that biggest challenge is going to come true any second now. This is the big push that they need to make happen. Skirp in the distance. I think he's not at all. He's got the perfect sight like now, but Chola goes down in the meanwhile. He's been flushed through. Skirp now rains his bullets in. Grows in hand. Takes 2. Egypt takes the 3rd one, I think. No, not even. Slay takes him down. But somehow they've turned this around, and Tunisia is indeed going down, and it's just down to Egypt.
Oh, they didn't know about Skirp in the back lines. He steps up, knocks and flushes one of them. Now it's a fair 2v2, but I say fair. All of the space on the map is in the hands of Egypt. Krona stepping up with the nade, and once again, we're looking at an Egypt duo to do it. The nade is beautiful. He just has to line up the spray. He's going to peek on over. This is all but over for Madagascar. Look at Krona. He wants to close this out right here, right now. He wants to step up for Egypt, and they do. Wow. And once again, it's a duo for Egypt that does get away with things they have no business getting away with.
Absolutely no business at all. They should be out of business 2 minutes earlier, but they do it anyways, and that's been the biggest difference. If there's been a difference so far in game, late stages, Egypt and Morocco have taken so much space time and time again. And look at the sportsmanship here. Look at the sportsmanship here. Going up towards each other's and making sure they applaud each other for that round. That was a big one, and Egypt needed that little bit of confidence, I feel like, in this round especially. They haven't done anything today. They were still at the top of it, obviously, with 4 wins yesterday, but that was, as I said, important to bring things back.
Yeah, and we were talking about it, right? We're saying, okay, this gap is kind of shrinking, this gap's kind of closing. Egypt's not been here today. And they had a terrible start to this match, Felix. They lose a player in phase 1. They lose a player in phase 1.
Western side as well, so tough.
Before almost anybody had lost a player, Egypt was down to 3. And they bring it back in that fashion just by really realizing, hey, yes, we're down in numbers, but everybody else is just busy with each other. We can take a lot of space. And once again, this is one of those wins where it's a confidence win. They're just bullying everybody else in the lobby, and everybody else in the lobby is letting themselves get bullied around.
I feel like in this one, though, there has to be an excuse. I think there is an excuse, actually. Let me put it this way. Let me rephrase. I think it was really tough for anyone to take control of that round after Egypt, just because of the topology. There was never a place Madagascar really could have gone without being open to Tunisia or Egypt at the same time. So even though Egypt was able to take all of that space, Madagascar really wasn't at any point. I think if there ever was a chance for Madagascar to take control, despite them having the man advantage, it must have been when Senkai was putting out all these shots, and they should have been the one to clean up Senkai and then play that ridgeline before Egypt was able to take control of the northwestern side. But you've got to have a lot of anticipation ability to realize that at this specific point in time. Afterwards, I don't see a way anymore for anyone but Egypt to win this.
I think I respect it as well. They have a 3-man Tunisia right next to them, right? They have to deal with that. If they fly into Egypt, their game might just be over in a second, and Tunisia might just grab everything else. So, like we said, right, it's very easy to sit here and talk about it. It's very hard to know what's going on in that round as you are in the round. I'm just saying any team that's not playing as confident as Egypt is not winning that round. We've seen that time and time again. We've seen teams shy away from third parties. We've seen teams shy away from fights. We've seen teams prone it out in the late game because they're just a little bit too scared to take that 4v4. Egypt is not that. And they step up there and they close things out. And they once again get away with a win that nobody expected them to get, and maybe not even themselves, but a win that puts them back towards the top.
Oh, crazy stuff from Madagascar and Mauritius.
486 assists for the Mauritian team in this game.
That's got to be a new record.
Wow, that's 10 assists per player almost. That's crazy.
That's got to be a new record. But yeah, no, obviously.
With 0 damage as well.
Madagascar having a huge game here in terms of frags. And that they were able to pick up Tunisia as the best case scenario. We often talk about decision-making late game. You have to realize when you can't really win rounds anymore. And them actually get, I think, both frags against Tunisia. At that point, maybe even the third one, I think they even got the flush that was originally knocked against Egypt. Means they got another 3 points and another placement point on top of that after Tunisia has been eliminated. That means 4 points. That's like your best case scenario. And you're also not giving much to Egypt. Essentially, yeah, you lost the 2 players that you had alive up until this point, but it's only been 2 points plus the 4 placements. It's okay-ish to let Egypt take these. It's more important for you to grab another 6 instead of having the low probability chance of still winning.
It's such a tough decision to make, I feel like, because every time you're in those 3-team situations, you're the first team to take a fight. You might get third-partied, but if you do nothing with your game, then you might just get closed out of the circle as well. So that's a tricky thing for both of these teams. For both of the teams, actually, for Tunisia as well. They also weren't sure on how to engage this and what to do with things. But in the end, it's just stone cold from Egypt. And I feel like that's sort of the experience ringing through as well, right? They just make a little bit less mistakes. I'm a little bit upset about how Mauritius went down because it felt like they were really mounting the comeback this game. But I think they've just got dealt a taste of their own medicine. Those trenches are just easier to clear than they are to hold. And Madagascar does that very well.
I got to give credit to Madagascar pulling through like they have.
Remember pulling up into the yellows, then pulling up into the trenches.
You said it time and time again. Yeah, that was actually a round full of initiative taken, and it speaks volume about how even a region like Madagascar, honestly, that is high-level play in terms of decision-making.
Yeah.
You've got to make these decisions first. It's not easy being on land.
They have fantastic rounds. They just haven't been consistently getting them. That's what I'm saying.
When
they play well, they play so well.
They play super well.
Yeah.
The way they cleared these trenches as well. It's not just them having the decision to clear these trenches. It's also been super nice in terms of utility. None of these players, if you actually look back at the fight, none of these players was in trouble at any point because they never even took 1v1s.
Yeah.
It was one guy covering, one guy driving around the ridge line, I think it was Slay at that point, opening up the angle, the other guy opening up the angle around the right-hand side. And at that point, it was only a single player left alive. And even then, they used all the utility, like they should. Never get into any dangerous territory. Yes, they did lose a player somewhere in the process, but that's completely fine after breaching 3 teams.
They also lost a player to a solo they had no idea about, right?
Right?
We saw Mauritius clearing those trenches, but leaving one player alive because they didn't know where he was. So Madagascar has no idea where that player is going to be. But
70 points now.
We are looking at 70 for Madagascar, and we are looking at 55 and 55 and 5th and 6th. One thing I want to talk about before this game is not so much the fact anymore, but this was super stacked. From 5th, we had 6 points difference from 4th to 8th before this game. Now Madagascar has pulled away with things, but it's still super stacked towards that whole area around the scoreboard, and it only gets separated towards the top.
And be reminded, this is about $25,000 US.
Yep.
So there's still lots and lots of reasons for all these teams, despite not necessarily making it to Egypt and Morocco, obviously in the top 2, and potentially making it to Riyadh. There's lots of reasons, like just money-wise, and also for your own country. At the end of the day, what Iesf is doing here with the World Esports Championship. And the great thing about this as well, not only to watch, but just to realize in terms of philosophy, like gaming philosophy, is that you have countries competing here. It's not organizations from a country, yes, but it's actual players for a country. They're representing them. So if I'd be playing in this tournament for obviously Germany in this case, I'd want to get the absolute best out of every single round. It doesn't matter to me if even a 14th to 13th would be a difference to me representing my nation. So I can 100% tell just by the passion, and I've spoken to these players, they feel the same way. Yeah.
And just if you're in 10th right now, if you're in 9th right now, one good game away from a 5th, that is a massive difference. And people will tend to look at that score and say, oh yeah, last year you got 5th, right? Yeah. That's a very different story than if you have to go home and say, oh yeah, we got 9th. It doesn't matter in the greater scheme of things when you're looking at the qualification to World Esports Cup. It still matters on how you did that event and how everything went for you. And for a lot of these teams, this is going to be an experience. This is going to be something where you want to take away the maximum that you can from this event because you are trying to come back next year. You are trying to get that LAN experience. And even if you're not going to be representing your nation, you're going to be on your own team back at home. And you're going to try and just suck all of that information in and try and use that to further your own career and try to grow as a person and as a player. And there's a lot of learnings that you can take from your first LAN. And I'm excited to see how that plans out because we are talking so much about the top 2, the top 3, because that's exciting for the qualification. But if you're one of these players, if you're in Somalia right now, you're one of these players, you keep winning fights, but you keep dying after, there's a lot of learning to do, and there's a lot of learning that's possible.
We have 2 more matches to go. That's the crazy part. It feels like we've seen 50 matches today, at least it does for me, with how these games have gone. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be heading back after a very quick break to Miruma. Being picked up before they even get to late game, if they can consistently do this, maybe even 2 more times, including maybe tomorrow's first round, they'll have caught up. No matter how Egypt or Morocco plays, because one thing is for certain, as of right now, Egypt and Morocco do not point anymore, while both teams are alive, essentially. And that's been the case yesterday. When Morocco did massive amounts of points, Egypt did as well. That's been different today. Whenever Egypt had a big round, Morocco didn't, and the other way around. So if that keeps up, I think we're going to see more teams with the potential to catch up.
I don't want to be sleeping on Madagascar either. They've been just coming out today, and they've been playing games that were beautiful, games that were super composed, wins that were essentially uncontested, 4v4s versus Morocco, a team that was pretty much unbeatable in fights except for Egypt yesterday. And they've crept up all the way to 4th place, and like we said, right, they could be a contender, but even if they aren't, 4th place is massive for a team like that. Just showing, hey guys, we are a small country, but we have a massive PUBG Mobile community. We've come here to play, and we've produced players that can compete at the highest level in Africa, in the African Esports Championship. That's crazy.
I mean, you have PMGC players on the other side, literally internationally experienced players at the very high stage, even though it's only been league stage. That doesn't really matter at this point. The level of competition is so close and so high at a level like PMGC that it's crazy that you can compete with these guys. I mean, have you ever heard of a Madagascan player in PUBG Mobile Esports? I don't think so. This, as I said before as well, this might be the start of something. They'll keep on picking up experience. They'll keep on picking up, maybe even go to regional tournaments and stuff like that, grow the scene even more. And who knows? Maybe we'll have 1 or 2 countries that are competing right here in some of these international tournaments sometime soon.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing as well, right? You're coming away from a tournament like this. We're always going to send 12 teams home. We're always going to send 12 teams not to the World Esports Championship, but they're still going home with a big bag of experience and a big bunch of learnings from these tournaments. And I think we can see right now for a team like South Africa, right? They haven't been the most consistent, but they've pulled it together today a little bit. They have slowed things down.
I like what I'm seeing.
They are just growing to a team that deserves to be in 5th place here today. And that's something they can take home, and that's something they can work with now. They've told us in the past they've always been playing online, lots of ping. They haven't really had a chance. Now they've had their chance. They've had ups, they've had downs, and they can grow massively from that.
Massive stuff. We do have 2 more chances for today. Today is to potentially make some more changes on the overall leaderboard. Mauritius is going to be the team to watch. I think there's no doubt about this. I think anyone else is not going to have a chance to breach into the top 2, but going into this today, we thought no one did until Mauritius came out of absolutely nowhere and was starting to rack up some points. Then again, Egypt and Morocco with a little bit less consistency, but big rounds as well. And that's kind of what it comes down to for these 2 teams just in general. They have been focusing on each other despite their now being a team that's closing the gap. It's been the storyline you said in the last game as well. I'm interested to see if that changes now for the next 2 games. Miramar kind of gives you more opportunity now to potentially do exactly that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going into that second to last round of the African Esports Championship here on day 2. And as we said, the storyline continues. The storyline continues. Is anyone going to be able to catch up to Egypt or Morocco? Guess we're about to find out.
2 more games. Like you said, they're playing a dangerous game, right? They're playing a game of trying to ruin each other, especially Egypt has been really, really good at finding Morocco on the map and picking out individual players and trying to ruin their games. It's gone the other way as well, and it's really allowed for the rest of the lobby to make this interesting, to make this a bit more close of a contention. Last Miramar, I remember with a plane like this, we've had a hot drop towards that southeastern side, and it's looking like Tunisia is interested in that again, but Djibouti not here this time. No Patrona hot drop, and potentially a bit of a dissolve going on. But there's a lot of teams around that eastern side here, Felix. There's a lot of teams. Mauritius, they've been talking to us as well. They were saying, we don't mind early hot drops. We don't mind early fights. We'd rather have an early fight where we don't get third-partied because we feel like we're winning our fights if it's a 4v4.
And to be honest, they've shown us exactly that. We were talking about all these solos being picked up in transition, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. And if they continue like this is exactly the kind of phase that decides the qualification. Yes, you get to late game, sure, that's going to matter as well, but the more consistent phases where you're going to beat every single game, which is essentially phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, these are going to be the ones that matter in the long run because 18 games, consistency is going to play a huge part in this. This is an amazing circle for plenty of these teams, a very fair one as well in terms of the playing path that we've seen. And it's going to get a lot of these opportunities now to take centralized spots, especially for Tunisia. Playing this one out of the southern side, in my opinion, gives you more entry points for plenty of these circles. And individually, just from a mechanical point of view, you'll have more chances to take fair fights as well. There's dips and crannies you can kind of play yourself out of in terms of, in comparison to a lot of these, I want to say, city fights, even up towards the northern side of Chimichurri, or even compound fights.
And this is an interesting one as well for Mauritius, because they were hot dropping in the Chimichurri city versus Somalia, right? We'll see how that dissolves. We'll see if they go for it. I think they want to go for it. They've even complained about enemy teams running away from hot drops, but hey, there's a classic. There is Djibouti, and they have managed to find themselves a hot drop again. They do not stop. It's Madagascar on the other side, and that's a big scalp to take down, as they have shown us today. And the first bit of damage doesn't go their way, but it's looking pretty doable here. I think they're isolating a 1v2 very nice and early.
Shotgun in hand. Always the one thing you don't want to see if you're on the opposing side. This around is the shot action though. That might make it a little bit more difficult to find a knock. 2 micro Uzis on the other side. Madagascar, this is a very important fight to stay and hold on to that 4th place they have. Nigeria is right behind them. Just a single point difference. Senegal is as well. Mali is as well, who've really surprised me today. They're starting to pick up the pace, starting to be a little bit more aggressive. All these teams will potentially point on this one. So it's going to come down who's going to win this hot drop in terms of who's going to stay at 4th place. Slay still trying to find an angle. Easy Boy has now made his way outside. Jabba has as well. So they're trying to increase the distance, at least for now. But I don't think Madagascar is going to let this sit. I think they're looking for the fight, and they know who they have in front as well, and they're feeling confident about going into this one. Once again, I don't think they're going to dodge it.
This is what you have to see from them as well, right? They're at the point where they are looking to be a contender. They aren't yet, but they're looking like they could be one. And for that, you need to have the confidence to be taking a fight at 4v4. Yes, sure, you don't want to overstep, you don't want to go too crazy, but once they figure out where these players are, which is not all too easy with that many small buildings in the middle, but if they do figure it out, I highly expect them to take the fight. The opposite is what we're seeing from Somalia, and this is exactly what Mauritius has complained to me about. Our enemies just keep running away from us, and we can't really get these hot drops fight. Look at this, Somalia is straight up running away. They're deciding, this is not a fight worth taking. I don't mind that. I don't think that's a bad decision. But if Mauritius wants to get these hot drop fights nice and early, they're not given to them for free.
Also, the thing always is in the early stages of the game, if you take fights, also in the later stages to some degree, you really want to make sure to finish these off fast. Same goes for Tunisia now, who are engaging Niger. Oh, Hammer peeks around the corner. The sub 4 today takes down Eagle to 1 HP, but he's not found the knock just yet. There's going to be a continuous fight with 3 players from Tunisia still missing this one. Hammer, how the hell does he do this one? Takes down Mugi, and Eagle is nowhere there to be found. No trade in sight. And he's going to make it back to a 1v1. Now Tunisia has found the cavalry as it arrives in the compound.
No meds.
More players are engaging this one, and it's a 2v1 now. And Hammer, he's got all the time in the world to heal back up.
Yeah, but he has no meds. Neither has his teammates. Chala is without meds as well. They have to win this cleanly and quickly, and they hope to try and use the numbers advantage, but they're taking 1v1s right now. Hammer holding the angle, not letting Eagle get around the corner. Shotguns might clear this up nicely and quickly. They're closing down the angles. No, they're closing down the space. Tunisia is looking to close this, but look how careful they are about this. They don't want to overstep. They don't want to overstep the mark. And they found it. Tunisia, they take the second, and that's going to be a flush as well. 3rd kill in the round. Niger is not looking great right now, running for the hillsides, and they're hunting as well.
I just want to remind everyone, Tunisia has started this day with, I think, 19 points. They've made it back to 55. Tunisia has had one hell of a day right now, and they're not stopping just here. Question is, has Scope spotted that last player from Niger? I don't think he has. Unfortunately, I really like this play. They want to hunt for this last player. They want to get the 4th point on the board, but as I said, I don't think they spotted out Young.
No, I don't think so.
He's not putting out any shots right now, so there's no way for Tunisia to really know where the last player is. But I think at some point they got to stop. They got to stop looking. Now he puts out the smoke. That might have just caught the attention of Tunisia. They must have heard this. Tunisia, I think they're rotating on through. They're rotating back to his position. They got to know now that this is the position that Young has, and they are already approaching. I don't think this is going to last long for Young.
This is a tricky fight to be taken. The UMP and the shotgun is the gun combination you want. But look at that. He has no vest to work with. He can't even spin around fast enough. Tunisia with the 4th in the round. Nice and quick. They make it look easy.
Did he just teabag him?
Yeah, a little bit of sauce, a little bit of spice to go with it. Yeah. And you can see that's what they wanted to do. And like you said, they've been coming back today. And they're one of these teams. They've shown us the signs of brilliance. Once they can string them together, it should be good to say. And they're now putting themselves in a position where they are the one running up to Madagascar, who's been crazy with it today. But 4 kills nice and early, 4 kills on your neighboring team as well, when you're in such a good position in the circle.
The thing. Yeah.
It buys you so much space, and it gets you going.
That's the thing, right? 56 points. You've overtaken Nigeria, now South Africa. You started this in if I'm not mistaken, they started this in 14th place going into today.
Yeah,
that's the biggest jump any
something
team
like
has
that,
made.
100%.
Tunisia is making a comeback for sure. And I was talking to these guys earlier, like, what happened yesterday? I couldn't really explain it. They couldn't really explain it either, because I was saying, like, half of the lobby, realistically, in isolated fights, you just take them cleanly. Like, they're too experienced to have these big problems. And, I mean, they're showing today that kind of was a fluke yesterday. It's not going to be enough to catch up. It's a first day on LAN, really,
you know, everything can happen, right? And that's what we've seen today. We talk about it a lot, that everything can kind of get thrown in the wind and every game plan can go out the window. And they're one of those teams that really had that happen to them. I think similar things you can say about Madagascar now, right? They've played a crazy second day and they were nowhere to be seen. They were nowhere to be seen on the first day. So a lot of surprises coming into the day, and that's exactly why it's so hard to make any predictions. But look at that. Who's taking shots at who? It's Egypt shooting Morocco. We see that time and time again. I don't know if they're looking for each other purposely. It really feels like it, but it's a dangerous game.
Yeah, they are.
It's a dangerous game, because if they keep ruining each other, they might just get surprised here by a team like Mauritius or Madagascar.
You got to be careful of not being too overconfident, obviously. But, I mean, they're sitting there with a point average that I have never achieved as a player. And especially on a tournament like this. So to some degree, I can understand it. And you don't really want to change your game plan either.
No,
that's gonna mix. That has more potential for upset than actually you just continue to go with the flow that you've had for the first days.
Okay, I agree. You don't want to change your game plan, but they have. Yesterday, the whole day was Egypt and Morocco farming the lobby and taking each other out in the late games. Remember, we had 2 4v3s. Egypt, Morocco for the win 2 times, and they both were putting up massive their Today, their point average is way down from what they were achieving yesterday, both of them. Remember, Egypt had 100 points yesterday. Their point averages are way down partly because their point averages were crazy yesterday and really hard to keep up, but also because they've been ruining each other so much. So they've adjusted a little bit, and I think it's working so far. We can't argue with it at all. But it's a dangerous game they're playing. That's all I want to say. When we look at a team like Mauritius now, good position, getting themselves into the eastern side of the circle, tons of space in front of them, and there it is again. Morocco is going in, but Arthur wants to get out. I'm not sure if he's making it out in time. I think he just barely crept over that hillside.
Yeah, he barely just did. Lazy bullies them away from this compound, though, but they're still holding on strong. They still have 3 Egyptian players in this one, and I don't think Lazy realized that just yet, but he's still very cautious. There's again rotating in the distance. If he opens up an angle, maybe Morocco could be in a really tough spot. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we're looking at the deciding fight here for this specific day. It is Morocco engaging Egypt, and it's Arthur all alone in the building. He's cooking up the nade, but where's his teammates?
Oh, he has almost no support now. Again, it's finally pulling up. Carryman taken down, though. That's a big scalp to take. That's a big opening on the angle. Almost flushed as well. Morocco, they're looking worse for wear. They get one of the trades, but it's instantly traded on back. Senkai can't win it out in the front, and it's looking absolutely massive for Egypt right now. Can Marshall do it? No. It's Egypt taking it away, and they've just opened the door to massively push themselves away from their main competitor in the lobby.
What have we just witnessed? Morocco going out like that in a 4-0 trade almost immediately? That's something we haven't seen before, really. I mean, not in that time interval that we've just... How fast was that? That was barely 10 seconds from the first knock. And they had the advantage going into this one. It's a 4v1 in that building. But all the players playing down low, waiting for the remaining players from Egypt to kind of drive in to potentially, find them on rotation.
Yeah.
Kind of took away that objective from flushing out that one player inside the building, which I think what they should have done as soon as they got to the compound. But yeah, Morocco, I mean, wow. And Mali is going to try to do just about the same with Mauritius now. This could be the good news for Morocco, depending on how this fight goes. That's Faker going down. This is good news for any Moroccan fan. Just one more nade to potentially take down Logic as well. Right side around the van is not going to catch him. But it's still got a rich line to work with. I say that, but these shots surely have connected. Somehow he makes it across. Now he tries to go back. He doesn't. Finish takes him down, and Logic down on the ground will be flushed any second. Means Mauritius, which is 2 players left standing.
Oh, this is a messy one. They have so many angles against them. They have so much to work against. Lucifer wants to get up the hillside, barely makes it there, but he's instantly hunted down. Mali as well. They're just throwing the playbook out the window. They're not the passive team we've seen crawling into late zones yesterday. They're hunting for this. They know they can isolate a solo. They might not know where his teammate is, but they want to hunt this down. First knock goes to Lucifer, though, and him pulling up a 1v3 here would be enough. The rest of the team is not there to help, and there's even third parties coming on in. Look at Nigeria on the minimap.
Mauritius, I think the main goal now is make the 100-point mark happen. That's got to feel good going into tomorrow, no matter what. You never know what happens next round, but at least in this one, I think 2 more points is something that's going to benefit you so much, just mentally. Knowing you've crossed that triple-digit mark and going into tomorrow with 1 good win, essentially what we've seen today as well. You might catch up to Egypt and Morocco, depending on how that next game goes, obviously. That's going to mean a lot to you, just once again from a mental point of view. But there's more teams rotating on through Nigeria now. Once they get a piece of the action as well, that's Quilla. Makes it across the ridgeline, but no shots connecting or being fired by Mauritius at this point. They will stay alive as 2.
Lots of fights all across the zone. South Africa taking a knock, getting the res back on up. We see a few teams getting knocked down, but not a lot of teams losing players here, actually. Almost the entire lobby still up with 4 standing. I say that Madagascar will get themselves flushed out. Lucifer is still playing around the angles. He's toying with them, but he does get traded. It's beautiful timing, actually. Taking the fight from both angles at the same time. Taking out the Mauritian player, not giving him a chance to clutch this up. Madagascar at the same time. Yes, they've been knocked time and time again, but they do take the kill towards Somalia. They do get themselves a point on the board, and now they can start their attention focusing elsewhere and start taking control of the circle here. They have a bit of a chance here, Felix, for a third party even. Potentially.
But it's Kenya that strikes. And I keep on coming back to it, but I gotta applaud these guys. Coming here with a 3-man, once again, being one of the only teams, just in general here, which is a massive, massive accomplishment from Iesf that unfortunately hasn't made it to this event. It's bound to happen with hundreds of athletes traveling here to Casablanca in Morocco, but they hold so strong. They're representing their nation really, really well. I mean, how many fights have we seen where they've essentially won a 3v4? And just being really smart about their engagements as well. So it's not surprising to see them that far down the leaderboard. Imagine going into every round as 3. It's just almost impossible to win anything. It literally is. But, as we said, they make a couple of points work, and they're still obviously an opponent to be feared, no matter what. And Tunisia knows that as well. You can see they're thinking about engaging, but they realize, even as a 3-man, that might not be a good push either way.
Yeah, the mental fortitude on these Kenyan players is absolutely great to see, and you love to see that in an event like this. And so far, picking themselves up a frag in that round, staying strong, and making sure that even though they're outnumbered, they do stay alive. Your Hulk, he's got a little bit creative. He's hiding on out, but I feel like as soon as he starts having to move, things might go wrong for him. The other side of the circle, we've seen that before. It's Nigeria trying to bring the pain towards that Mali squad. 2 knocks already. That's a big opening in Nigeria. We've had high hopes of them coming into the day. They've sort of flattered out a little bit, but they're right back at it. And if there's nades here, if there's mollies, which there is on Paramore, he can bring a lot of pain. He can make that work against Mali.
Sean breaches it.
Oh, that's good.
I like to see this fight from Nigeria. They also said they want to keep these isolated fights up. And Mali's been the first one to potentially feel the wrath of it. Irage, just one more fight being needed. Quilla, in the meanwhile, hits a perfect nade, takes down Escanor, and just finished left now, I think, with one of his teammates. But Irage is being taken down. Quilla gets the trade, though. This is important for Nigeria. They need to finish this off cleanly. If they want to have chance in this round, they need to travel very far for phase 5. But it looks like it's going to work out perfectly. Good spot to rest as well. It's in nade distance. But you can see finishing the distance. He's got a fight on his own that he needs to make happen, or to be honest, beforehand, before he really can do anything about this. What a nade! Paramol hits it straight on the net, on the head, and no chance for Mali in this one. Completely clean wipe coming out from Nigeria. 5 points being secured, 60 points now, slowly but surely, creeping up to Madagascar.
This is what we've been seeing from them, right? They've been looking good in fights. They've just not been as consistent. I hate to say it again. It's just the story for so many teams, right? We keep repeating ourselves. And we've seen it for teams like Mali, who've dropped off today. We've seen it for teams like Nigeria, who've come back today. But they have started something here. Sully gets himself knocked from fallen. That's bad news for South Africa, especially considering they're now down to a solo. And you can see there, Tunisia and Kenya still on that western side. Tunisia still shying about it. Still not sure if they want to take this fight just yet. They're waiting for the circle. They're waiting for a little bit more information about where this game goes before they engage in any of this. And I think it's a smart play considering how many teams they have right in front of them.
Tunisia That is a team ace. Everyone has picked up a frag. Make that 56 points. Once again, starting in 14th place. I think 14th or 12th or 13th. One of the very last places, at the very least, is what I remember them being at. 19 points is what I remember as well. That's, I said it before, it's been the biggest upset of day one. The one team that has had one of the most experienced lineups coming into this tournament, but just had, honestly, the worst performance you could ever imagine. Now South Africa in a fight. This happened way more faster than I expected it to be. Nigeria picks up the first one as well. Paramo the UMP takes down the first one. Six God has been spotted. He's got the S12K though, and that is always dangerous. He gets the trade. I think he almost gets the flush as well. He
gets 2 down there, and 1 knock, 1 flush as well. He's looking to put more into that. He's getting the first aid off first before he tries to get any more util down that stairs, but he's already done the damage. He slowed them down massively, and there's already new teams looking over that hilltop to try and get their piece of the pie. But they will at least res one player in the bottom floor. They will at least get Quilla back in his feet. And now they can return the favor. They can get that util in. I think he's in the back room. I think he should be fairly safe. But letting them reset is a dangerous game here, because the more time they have, the more util they can use. I think there's a molly coming on in as well, but it slightly misses. So he stays alive for another day.
Seaskulls has to be careful of running out, because if that nade is cooked perfectly and he runs out, Iesf is going to take him down. What a Kobe.
That went inside the room.
He hits him inside the small building upstairs.
Oh, my God.
Inside the small room, excuse me. That is massive. Legitimately massive. Like, that's a nasty nade. Good stuff coming out from Nigeria. They lose a player, though.
They lose a player in that.
They lose a player.
Yeah, and that is going to sting, especially when they realize they have a team waiting for them on the hillside. When they have Senegal just set up, ready to take them.
Look how smart they played.
I think especially, not peeking on over. But with the circle going the other way, there was a chance for Nigeria to leave before this was happening, but they had no idea. Another team walked up, and they had no chance of knowing either. Now the question is, does Senegal want to push on this? I don't think they will. I think they'll hold their ground, and they'll try their very best to keep Nigeria from entering the safe zone at all.
That fight has happened for the last 3-4 minutes, maybe even make that 5, as Kenya has been viciously defending Tunisia, making sure they don't get too close. There is still Hulk in between all of them. That's got to be the X factor. If that breach really does come through, I'm not sure Tunisia knows about Hulk being there, then he could be the X factor that could potentially ruin Tunisia's or Kenya's round.
Completely. The good thing for Tunisia is, the good news for Tunisia is they're not going to be breaching this because the circle has gone the other way, right? Kenya, they're probably going to look to make it down that hillside. They're looking to stay alive in this, and Tunisia doesn't have to peek on overall too much, especially with how many angles they have on this. The question is, what do they do the next zone? Do they push towards Madagascar, who've been set up in this concrete for a long time? Or do they try to play the train on the south? We'll have to wait and see. Senegal, Again, they've gotten that knock, but I don't think they even got the frag in the end. That player still knocked on Nigeria. They might just get the res at this point. This has been drawn out so long. They actually get the res. That would be crazy for us. I think we were all expecting that player to bleed out for 100% certain. But unless these nades are absolutely miracle nades, they will get that res, and they will actually reset this quite nicely here, Nigeria.
That would have been the most insane nade I've seen in this tournament so far from Senegal, but it doesn't make it all the way down. I think it barely exploded beforehand. But either way, look at this now. Aishon, he tried to test the waters outside because they still need to move even after crossing towards the silos or into the warehouse. But as soon as he does, he crossed that with the vehicle, by the way, itself as well. He's getting shut down by Djibouti, who are holding down the northern side. I really like this. Even lesser experienced teams controlling the edge, realizing how much space they have to take, making sure they pick up the frags on these edges. Just no one really to be underestimated in general in this entire lobby. Not even Kenya, who are now trying to get this breach going. It's Mufasa on the other side. Nell as well, going to be the first contacts going in. Jay has kind of got Daddy's backside by the looks of it. But with that smoke being there, I'm not sure he can support it all too much. And I think Madagascar is there in the distance as well. A good nade comes out from Spammer. And that's one player down, one player flushed out from Kenya. And at this point, it looks all the more unlikely.
Oh, that's a good nade, though. That's a lot of damage.
Okay.
Oh, it's doable.
I think they need a corner around. Eddie, he's been covered by Jay. They're turning this around. Spammer's been taken down. Mufasa as well. Nell is now with the last players left standing. And Jay has got the S12K. One more shot. He does it. One more maybe. What? Yes, they do. And Kenya turns everything around. There has never been a team that has started off with worse conditions and still made it work. Kenya, during that entire fight, not being third party by the looks of it either.
There's no way.
And what a performance. 2v4. Unbelievable stuff.
Crazy stuff coming out from them. Tunisia now doing the same thing to the Madagascan squad who've been pinched into this building. We've seen this before. There's more and more util coming on in. It's harder and harder to dodge the nades. And just like that, Slay on the top has to do it all. Does he find one? I think he does. The UMP comes out. A little bit of pressure relief, but Pew Pew on the lower ground goes down. And Tunisia is picking them up part by part. It's just one left alive. It's Slay in the top floor.
And he's being fouled as well. Hammer takes him down. And is Tunisia making the comeback a potential reality? 8 points now already in kills being secured. 60. They made it up to 60. Be reminded, they started this day with 19. One of the worst performing teams in day one. And that lineup was never meant to be downstairs on the overall leaderboard. Never meant to be. And they're bringing things back. You can see the Tunisian Esports Federation being here, cheering on that roster.
You love to hear it.
Good position as well, apart from Egypt, but arguably one of the best ones.
And Egypt is just taking control of the circle once again, right? 3-man is all they need, apparently, to take control of the whole map. Now with Kenya coming in, they're going to take it a little bit slow. They're going to let the teams fight this out first. And Kenya is looking for another miracle. But look at the confidence. Jay's walking on in. He's not hesitating at all here. Getting a few smokes out, looking to see what he can do. Daddy OP on the heel. And once again, look at the minimap. Look at Krona. He doesn't want to let this go just yet. Egypt wants to close this out. But so far, Tunisia is staying strong in this. Kenya is staying strong in this. This might still take a while.
I don't think they have any reason to fight in this phase. I think they will take things slow. And they can and they should. Don't make any missteps now. Especially with the way Egypt is positioned. There is the potential. Obviously, they don't know that, but we do. There should be the potential with another team going out beforehand.
Two of these Tunisian players had 0 meds left, by the way. They have not a whole lot to work with. They have bodies to loot, but they have to be a little bit careful now with Tunisia on the doorstep. Senegal is looking to close out the solo. They find Hulk. It's a nice bunch of nades to close that. It's a third elim for the Senegalese squad. And they have quite a bit of space on that southern side. It's not the most high priority position in the map, but it is a bit of space they can call their own. Nigeria on the top, they're in trouble. They're taking damage. They're getting absolutely peppered from the compound, but they can be a little bit relieved. They've already gotten themselves 10 elims this game already. They've really done the job at this point.
Molotov comes in, and that fight apparently is now starting off. Kenya, they've taken down Chala, but I think it's back to a 2v2. We said Metz was maybe is going to be the problem. Hammer, though, takes him down to 1 HP. Crossfire should be perfect, but it isn't. Now the trade comes on through. Flush immediately as well. Tune, somehow Tunisia is still in this one. I'm not even sure how Skirb made it out there alive. He was immediately turned back around. But I think that's been the third-party action that now came in. We didn't get to see that, but it was the third-party action from Egypt that finished off this fight. And
that's
Tunisia
crazy. That's crazy for Tunisia, but it's heartbreaking for the Kenyan players. They were, once again, they were pulling it off. Crazy crossfire set up. The team play this game, off the charts, but Egypt will ruin their dreams, will close them out. And they're now looking to close out the rest of this lobby as well. You can see they're just not stopping. They're cruising. They're trying to close every single corner, every single gap, and they're not letting anybody else do the same thing. Crazy performance still from that Kenya squad. You just have to go back to it. They're starting every fight one man down. As soon as one of them gets knocked, it's a 2v4, and they're still winning them. That's mental. And even just taking down 2 more of Tunisia there is not something they could ever count on, and not something they should ever get away with.
As I said, we've got to give it up for Kenya. The way these guys are fighting for every single point. Absolute warriors in the server. Absolute warriors. Once again, I'm completely surprised by that furious amount of energy in the server. Literally, like one of the biggest surprises to me. Good nade coming out from Egypt. It's going to take a whole lot more though to take down all 4 of the players that are now rotating in through that eastern side. Circle is still favorable to Egypt, but the bad thing about this compound is, as you can see, that ridgeline is dangerously close. So as soon as Tunisia and the rest of the players from the western side, I think it's only Tunisia at this point, has to be, make it out, I think at that point, they're going to be able to play this entire east side, and then that compound isn't as strong anymore. So Egypt is going to be in a little bit of trouble next phase.
They're also going to be outnumbered, which is another thing. But if Nasty Boy has to move, I don't really fancy his chances here. The compound's going to be in next zone no matter where we shift, and Fancy Boy will have to make a move on in. Now, Skirp He's the last one up for his squad. He's the last one up for Tunisia. He's going to try and stay alive for as long as possible. Then he's going to try and make a send with any car that's still somewhat drivable. And he's hoping that this Egypt fight kicks off before he's out of the question. Now, Egypt is doing him that favor. They're going pretty aggressive here. Mohamed really wants to find these nades over the top. He wants to close this out ASAP. And that might make a chance there for Tunisia. That might make a chance for Skirp to just get away with anything here on that western side.
Egypt playing this one so aggressive, and they realize this as well, that now is the time to engage this. And he hits the nade. Mohamed takes down Mehdi Boy. What an entry. That was not supposed to happen. And Egypt, they're opening up angles on this ridgeline entirely now. They know this is their time to shine. And out of nothing, something gets done, but Skirp rotates into the backline. Flush comes through from Krone. Is it going to be enough, though? I'm not so sure.
Skirp taken down on the other side. That's Nasty Boy from distance, picking it up. Making sure that Tunisia is not a factor in this, but Egypt is swarming. Egypt is swinging this util coming out. He has more where that come from as well. And they're so confident right now, Alex. They're going over the top. They want to close this game. They want to close the tournament if they can. But it's not going to be over just yet. 2 players up.
How does Krone not get taken down there? I mean, the cover fire should have been perfect from Nasty Boy. But he had his chance, and I think that chance is now gone away. In the meanwhile, it's Malone kind of wanting Arthur in the compound. He's made his way around. That's honestly, I love this setup from Senegal, but unfortunately, these sidelines should be more perfect than really what the outcome kind of told us. I mean, there should have been a knock on Krone. It's back to a 2-on-3.
I'm loving that Malone is doing this, and I'm loving that Arthur is taking his time. He's playing it slow. He's biding his time, but he's still alive with it. Shotgun might do some miracles here, but he's down to 1 HP. Not a whole lot of covering fire coming out, and Mohamed finds him. That's Senegal down to 1. He has no angle. He has no cover. He's prone in smokes in the middle of a field. This should be all but over, and Egypt with another statement here. 9 defeats and a chicken dinner. That's going to feel mighty good after such a slow start to the day.
Nasty Boy, 1 HP, will be taken out. Egypt is your winner of the 5th game. First Miramar of the day. And man, when as soon as we think Morocco is surely going to take the lead today, Egypt strikes back with a win. That's the 5th win in 11 games now. They have still almost won half of the games that we have played. Egypt in absolute perfect form right now. And yeah, you're right. I think it is actually the 6th round now.
Yeah.
I mean, with so many rounds being won by Egypt, I mean,
it's hard to keep on count, right? It's been so many at this point. It's just crazy what they're able to pull off, and it's crazy how they're doing it as well.
I don't even
aggressively flexing out of that compound constantly, the whole game. Every time we had a fight on the minimap, some Egyptian player was there to try and look for it. And even when they still had the Tunisian solo, they still had Scrap behind them. They say, we don't care. We're taking that fight because we want to take that fight. And remember as well, it was 4 Senegalese players, 3 Egyptian players. They rolled over them.
Yeah,
I don't think there was a single knock towards Egypt in that whole fight. They just completely folded them, and that's exactly why they're standing where they're standing on the scores right now.
I'm incredibly surprised by Egypt. The timing on when they pushed out, I didn't think that was going to be possible. I thought these ridge lines with the 1 Senegalese players in the deep south playing the open field as cover, which is amazing, by the way. That setup is amazing. I thought there was no way in hell Egypt pushes across that ridgeline, doesn't immediately lose 2 players.
Yeah.
Like there shouldn't be in any world any chance for Egypt on that push. But Egypt's, I mean, making miracles work apparently.
And the util as well, right? They open it up with that nade, and that makes their fight so much easier, so much more doable.
Yeah.
But even at the same time, you wouldn't think they'd get away with it. But I'm sitting here and I'm saying, why would Egypt take that fight so early, right? And maybe Senegal is thinking of the same thing. Maybe they're slowly setting up. They're trying to get Nasty Boy out of that predicament he's in that southern side of the field. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Maybe that's what they're working on.
Yeah.
And just like that, a game can slip out of your fingers. Still a good showing for the Senegal squad. But the big story here is Egypt just making a big argument for them winning the African Esports Championship.
It's going to get tough now for Morocco to bring things back. I say that, but I've said that every time.
Nothing's tough if you're Morocco.
I said that every time as soon as the leader kind of switched around.
Yeah.
Whenever I said that, next round over, Morocco is I don't know, winning a game.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. Also a statement that we said, I think, 1 million times by now during the last 2 days, because things keep switching up. It's not just Egypt and Morocco trading things out now. It's Mauritius, Madagascar getting back into the mix.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nigeria as well with a little bit of a comeback, showing us that they can win fights consistently. And the biggest comeback of them all has been Tunisia. Not necessarily in terms of how many points they have, but in terms of how many points they've gotten today in comparison to yesterday.
big day. Massive points for them. And you said it before, right? If somebody's climbing the scoreboard, somebody else has to drop. We just talked about South Africa and how nice it is that they're still in 5th place after their performances. Yeah. They've just dropped down to 8th. That's how quick it goes. And that's how stacked the middle of their scoreboard is. Yeah. And it almost hurts me a little bit how much we're not ignoring, but we're dismissing that part of the scoreboard because we're talking about qualification so much. We're talking about prize money that's up to 3rd. Yeah. But yeah, these everybody is incredibly close towards that middle part of the scoreboard. And Morocco here with 1 point is something that we're not used to seeing, but especially when Egypt is picking up 20, that's got to sting.
That's got to sting big time. The sooner we get, or the closer we get towards that game 18, the tougher, obviously, it's going to be to the more important, let me rephrase this actually, the more important each and every single point gets. So now, even like a 19-point difference in this game is going to be more important than a 19-point difference in day 1. So now towards the end of day 2, which is one more match left to go, and then afterwards only 6 more matches tomorrow, it's going to be tough. Like that's another win essentially that Morocco has to get with Egypt making almost nothing. So the ball is definitely in Egypt's park.
100%. And then look at as well a team like Nigeria picking up big points. It's in Egypt picking up big points, and Senegal, they get the 2nd place, but they're not even in the top 4 of points in this game. No. So many teams have been fragging out, and yeah, it's getting spicy. It's getting spicy around that part of the leaderboard. 74, 68, 66. A lot of these teams have come to play today, and a lot of these teams were not on our radar yesterday.
No, not necessarily.
We talked about it before, but we'll talk about it again. There's a lot of pride in this, and there's a lot of value in representing your nation. And a lot of these teams are making massive stands right now to make sure everybody knows, hey, we are on the map, we matter, and we are here to play. And a team like the Madagascar story, the Tunisia story, they're big proof of that.
Yeah, not even them. Like even a team like Kenya, you don't even have to look at the middle of the pack, to be honest. You can look at almost any team. Even Somalia in that round, I really like what they did. I said it before. It's great to see them that far down because decision making in some of these rounds is the same as with some of these top teams. Making sure that northwestern side of Chumacera, which is, by the way, one of the best entries in this zone, right? You can play these hillsides, you can rotate down from it. You most of the times almost always have kill potential on everyone that rotates out of Chumacera. So if you have that entry, and Somalia did, and then actually connect that with correct decision making, holding out Nigeria, that's going to result in plenty of frags. So Somalia, just great showing as well.
Yeah, and solid stuff from a lot of these teams. Like we said, it's just, again, the consistency, right? We had a team fall short here in the very start of the game, as it was Morocco, and it's made things look really, really nice for Egypt. But we have one more game for you guys today after just a short break. 6 of the day is upon us. We've had 5 today, we've had 6 yesterday, and as we started very differently today, I feel like we're closing into a trajectory that is more of the same. If you're looking at Egypt, right, that's their 6th win in that game. 6 wins in 11 games is absolutely mental. We're now past the point where we're saying they're winning half of their games. They're winning more than half of their games, and that is going to easily push you towards the top of the standings. But we'll talk about it once more. Plenty of teams playing catch-up and plenty of teams doing a really good job at trying to achieve that goal.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd to still have that close of a difference between Morocco and Egypt, despite them winning more than half of the games. So that's ultimately what I'm a little bit concerned about as well. Right? If that winning doesn't happen tomorrow as well, there might be might be chances for teams to catch up. And the same thing can be said about Morocco, right? If they don't start actually closing out games and winning them instead of just fragging out, which they even haven't done so convincingly today. And that's going to open things up for Mauritius. But I guess that's the storyline. We keep on coming back to it because we're grasping for straws here.
Yeah.
But this is the first time where there's actually like an argument to be made that this is becoming possible. Mauritius has been fragging out. Yes, not as consistent as we were liking it to be, but the rest of the teams are following up. Now, big win coming out of Madagascar, maybe even Nigeria. This could mean another contender coming into tomorrow. And once again, be reminded, this is not only about the African Esports Championship that's to be crowned. The second kind of objective is going to Riyadh. Later stage this year, it's going to be the World Esports Championship, once again in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. And at that point, there's a whole bigger share of prize pool, more than just the $25,000 that are already up for grabs here. It's as you said, it's massive on multiple dimensions, essentially.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of teams make a good stand on that leaderboard today, right? We've had a lot of teams come back from terrible days yesterday. We've had Tunisia that's got 13 points yesterday, closing it up towards the 6th place. We've had Madagascar with 26 yesterday as well.
Yes,
similar day for them, yes. It wasn't as bad for them yesterday, but when you look at the points they got today, it's pretty much more of the same. And they're keeping this interesting, and they're keeping their flag high when it comes to representing. I think there's two ways you can go about it. You can say this is the African Esports Championship, or you can say this is a qualifier to the World Esports Championship. It's a little bit of both, right? Both has their,
like it's more
has their validations.
African Championship than it is a qualifier, I'd argue.
Okay, what's your argument?
There's an argument that if I were an African country, it would mean more to me, potentially, getting first place here than it would second place, but first place in Riyadh. You know what I'm saying? Because this is the first time.
You'd rather be first in Africa than first in the whole world?
Maybe, because this is historic. This is the first time an international esports event has happened just for the African country. This is why this is so special. The entire event right now that's happening and being organized by Iesf. I mean, take a look around. When was the last time you've seen all these countries perform at a global stage? It's not exclusively just for the best teams in the entire world. It's for the African country. And I love it. It's such a history-rich country. So many esports regions that have been overlooked. So I'd argue, maybe just for the first time, because of that fact, I think ego-wise, this might be more important. Then that might change when they qualify, then potentially the World Esports Championship. But this is the only argument that I have really going for it.
Why not do both, right? Why not pull what Egypt is trying to pull right now? Why not just win and qualify, right? And then hopefully have a chance. We've seen Morocco at the last World Esports Championship. They got 4th place. That is absolutely massive.
These guys are
fourth
massive.
in the world in Yash last year. So you can definitely try and do both. They've also been winning these regional qualifiers time and time again. And this time they have the first, for the first time, they have a real contender. And that contender is really showing them the ropes here a little bit with 6 wins in 11 games. But once again, it would be a massive upset if they don't qualify at the end of this, and they would be absolutely disappointed. They were disappointed yesterday, and yesterday was a much better day than today.
Yeah. One more game, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be heading into Miramar any second now. It is the last game, as I said, of day 2. After that, 12 games have been played. It's 6 more matches tomorrow, which is, by the way, if you're in Moroccan right now and you're not here at the venue, which is open for all of you guys, just get some tickets. I think they're free, actually. If they haven't been sold out already, I think there's going to be a massive amount of people here tomorrow, obviously with there like being a whole ceremony, rappers coming in, Moroccan rappers and all that stuff. So we're expecting a big home crowd that we already partly obviously have today. So interesting stuff. 6 more matches tomorrow. That's where we're ultimately going to crown the champion. And right now it looks like it's still going to be between Egypt and Morocco, but there's teams, keep on coming back to it, creeping up. Mauritius, give me a prediction on this one. You said 30 points was going to be the difference. I got to look at the over scoreboard. It's right behind us. It is 24 points now. Yeah. So I'm 1 point ahead of you in terms of my prediction. But are you going away from that now? Or are you sticking to your prediction it's going to be 30 points? That would mean Morocco has a better game than Mauritius now.
I mean, it's hard to say, right? There's a lot that can go wrong or can go right in a single game. It's really, really hard to say. You're essentially guessing at this point when you're looking at a single match. I'm saying 30 is realistic. I'm saying 20 is realistic. I'm saying 15 is realistic. You don't know, right? Like there's
15.
Mauritius has pulled up today in a lot of games. It's just they can't consistently get it going. I say they can't consistently get it going. They're 3rd place right now, right? They're better than everybody else below them on the scoreboard. They're better than 11 teams. It's just they're kind of living in the shadow of the top 2 here because they're not having a crazy day 2 like a Madagascar and a Tunisia are, and they're not in the top 2 spots in the driver's seat like Egypt and Morocco are. So they kind of live in the shadows a little bit. Yeah. But I deeply respect what they've been able to achieve. They've been able to surprise me. Yeah, no worries, guys. Just walk through the camera. No problem there at all.
No worries at all.
They're not worrying. They're not listening. It's fine.
Gotta be honest. If you have an event like that, I'd forget the cameras as well. Yeah. I'd be the first one to walk through the camera.
Hey man, it is what it is. I don't mind it at all. There is a bit of a shot of the stadium, the stage. Honestly, pretty cracked stage. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. Yeah. We have something you haven't seen all that much is what's behind us. It's sort of a small assortment of seats behind us, people watching for the VIPs, the players themselves, all that kind of stuff. And then in front of us, that's something that you're probably not going to see at all, except for on the after movies, is the stage with the viewers.
Nuts.
But you can see players on the stage. It's a bit of a rehost, so we have a small delay, but I think that should be resolved now, and the players should be back in the lobby, and we should be going into game in just a few minutes.
You've already told me your prediction, so I'm not going to ask for it again. But I'm putting you on the spot right now. Who's qualifying to Riyadh. Has your opinion changed? Is it still going to be Egypt, Morocco? How are the chances for Mauritius going into this one? Or do you think there's going to be another team catching up? Because right now it looks like Madagascar, I mean, they're exactly 50 points behind. For them to actually get a comeback going, that we said that's got to happen today. In 6 more matches tomorrow, the chances that Egypt, Morocco, and Mauritius are just not going to perform anymore are that slim. And like fragging-wise, Mauritius is the only team that's really come close to Morocco.
If you would have cut out day one, and you wouldn't have shown me the scores of day one,
yeah,
I would say Madagascar is qualifying. They have been so impressive today. They've been consistently putting points on the board. They've been winning fights cleanly. They've been taking the right fights. They've really impressed me today. Same with Tunisia. Just a little bit less clean in some of their aspects. But you just said it. There's a 50-point gap. That is a lot of points. If you're getting 50 points in one day of PUBG Mobile, you say, wow, that was a pretty good day. And then now you're looking at catching up 50 points to a team that's still one of the favorites in this lobby. It's just so much. There's just so big of a gap when you look at Madagascar. It's not as crazy when you look at Mauritius. It's just that in the recent games, Madagascar has been a little nicer, a little bit cleaner, a little bit stronger.
It's always the thing with top-heavy lobbies that we have right here. It's if few teams really sponge up almost all of the points, it's going to get tough, right? It's going to get tough to kind of come back and find yourself a footing at the top half, because one round, just one inconsistent round, a single one. Mauritius was so close actually to catching up, but then one more inconsistent round. And look at this, Egypt and Morocco both have a big one.
What was the first game? Was it a 12-kill win for Morocco? Morocco lose 2 players in phase 2, and then they just close it out on Sanok as a 2-man to get themselves a 12-kill win. And you're just sitting there like, we had everything going for us. We were really ready to make the comeback. And they just pull that out of the hat, right? Mathematically, it's always possible to catch that up. Mathematically, it's more than possible for them to close that gap. But realistically, Morocco is just not going to let their foot off the gas. They're not going to stop playing, even if they slow down like they did today.
Definitely.
They're still putting points on the board. They're pulling crazy clutches. They're pulling crazy duo plays. It's just hard to imagine a world where anybody except Mauritius can do it.
Yeah. Honestly, going into this tournament, look, we said the favorites were going to be Egypt and Morocco. Did we expect, I don't know, you're laughing already, did we expect Madagascar and Mauritius? This is a whole different topic.
No.
This is interesting. We didn't.
Yeah.
I talked to these players. They said Mauritius. Yeah, definitely. That's one of the more experienced lineups.
Yeah, well.
And I was like, I mean, obviously I'm not from the region. I'm not from Mauritius, but they're known in the African region.
Yeah.
And I guess that must have been one of the few mistakes we made preparing for this tournament, right?
But then you talk to Tunisia and they say, oh, it's Morocco, Egypt, and us. And then you talk to Nigeria, and they say it's Morocco, Egypt, and us. So everybody came in this confident. And I mean, a lot of them, if you're looking at the scoreboard now, a lot of them looking at the scoreboard now have been able to back that up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think if you're looking at this, now it's easy to say that Mauritius was one of the teams we expect to be there. I've talked to the representatives, right? They have a massive PUBG Mobile scene, considering the size of their country. The PUBG Mobile scene is absolutely massive. They make qualifiers for this event, right? Almost all of the nations that are here have put up a qualifier for this event. It was signed out. It was full with sign-ups in just a few minutes. 400 spots instantly signed up. So yeah, 400 teams, and they were signed up in less than an hour. Yes.
That's 1,200 players.
Yeah,
that's what I didn't know this.
Yeah,
and you kept that information from me, and I kind of blame you. That should have been in my preparation. That's nuts.
Yeah.
400 teams, and that's not even everyone. That's if that fills up in minutes, that means it's probably going to be double that.
I think he said 40 minutes. That's crazy, right?
That means it's probably double that.
That's crazy.
In general.
Oh, for sure.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and that's why they're up there, right? And that's
completely nuts.
It's simple math to some extent.
Yeah.
Until you're at the very top. You have more players playing, you'll tend to have better teams, and you'll tend to have more players that are skilled at the highest level, and these guys have been at the highest level of the African region, and they've been showing that in this tournament so far. This is looking like a quieter start to a Miramar than we've come to expect, and this time it's not Djibouti in a hot drop, but I see an orange team that we've seen hot dropping almost every single game. That's Niger towards the bottom right versus Senegal in Puerto Paraíso.
I am expecting another relatively slow start. We've seen this happen in the last Miramar round. Obviously, after these hot jobs are concluded, and we are seeing another one. This time around, it's Puerto Paraíso. As if, look, I understand contests, but do I understand it in Puerto Paraiso? I'm not so sure.
We've seen a Partona hot drop, so I'm not confused about anything anymore. We've seen 3 teams in Primorsk. I'm not shook by a Puerto Paraiso hot drop. I think we just have a few teams in this lobby that tend to reaction drop, but they tend to drop late in the plane. And that's been Djibouti a lot of the time, but it's also been Niger a lot of the time, and that's a knock. And a flush coming in from Senkai. And they've been, that might almost be targeted at this point. They're hunting the one team in the lobby that's starting with lower numbers. And they're picking up 2 frags just like that, starting the game off with another sign. And another point to what we've been saying earlier. It's not like these guys are just going to stop making points and putting points on the board.
That's the essential problem of everything. Because no matter how well Mauritius obviously is playing, Morocco and Egypt, they will continuously put up points. Now, that being said, it's only 26 points. One good round, and this could be the one. Imagine, I kind of want to imagine the scenario, but I don't want to get my hopes up.
Yeah.
Imagine Mauritius wins this round. 16 frags, not out of the ordinary, even for them.
Even if it's 10, right? You can be a few points behind.
It's like it's the best of 6 tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, Morocco at some point, Morocco and Egypt were almost double the points of Mauritius at some point. After the first 6 games essentially have played, there was like a 40, 50 point difference, and that essentially meant almost double points. Now it's down to 26. That's a fifth now. It's down to a fifth of the points. So things are very much open between the top teams, and with a little bit of caster bias in terms of having suspense. Not necessarily against Morocco, more so against Egypt, obviously with Morocco being the home crowd here. We kind of want to see, obviously hear that cheers tomorrow. Which I think we're going to impact that performance as well. We're going to get to that tomorrow. I obviously am hoping for Mauritius to get some more points going. That's a breeze against Niger. And that is, if I did see that correctly, I think that is Ghana downstairs. No, it is Senegal. Senegal with an early move. Mighty in the distance. As well, that player, I think, as one of the first players, but no knock so far. As Eagle still trying to find the correct angle on that ridge line. But I think a couple of pop shots to bring him back to the building means it's going to remain that 4-4.
There's a bit of on an island there. I'm wondering why the Niger players from town haven't found an angle onto Malone just yet. It seems like a matter of time until he has to dodge that position. He's got cover from afar, but not versus the players in the city. So he's going to disengage this for now, at least wrap around, bring himself into a better position. And the fight will reset once more. That's the hot drop we called out. It hasn't been very hot. Like you said, it might not be. But with that, if he would have let that nade rip, he doesn't know. He doesn't have the information we have, but now he's seen the players. But he does actually pre-nade in front of him. He doesn't actually throw the nade towards the building. So playing it very, very careful here and taking a lot of time for this fight. That might come back to bite them, considering that this is costing them a lot of time and actually costing them a whole lot of resources that they're putting into this fight.
No one's really trying to make move just yet. We're talking about resources. Still almost everything between these players. Not too many nades have been used. We could tell that at one point. Ooh, oh my word. Okay, Eagle. He just escaped with potentially the biggest scare you could ever have because he hasn't even got a first aid in his body. He hasn't got anything to heal himself back up except bandages. I don't even think there's been anything but that nade. Oh, I thought that was going to hit. I think Malone is inside the building. Yeah, so he was inside the building. I thought that was perfect. But he's also getting away with the scare. So scares on both sides.
And another reset. Another breather for both of these teams. Eagle trying to fall away from the angle. Hopefully someone can give him a first aid. But look at this. These 2 players in the city for Niger have been fairly passive, and they've been completely out-rotated by the rest of Senegal. They've been wrapped around. And if they don't find that out, if they don't figure that out, they're going to be in trouble sometime sooner or later.
Yeah.
And, yeah, there's that flank. There's Nasty Boy, making moves around the town. And I don't think Niger has a good idea that this is going on.
I don't think so either. Senegal, we've seen them want these early fights. And this is not a coincidence. Right now, 60 points. I think it's more of anticipation of what's going to happen in the next couple of, I guess, tomorrow, really, essentially. Is he going to throw the knife? Okay. I like you, Malone. That's a very sympathetic move, but unfortunately, you won't damage anyone with that. Unless Niger would have peaked that exact time. But I like what they're doing, so they're starting off really early to try and grab frags. That's how most of the times, that's how we see these big rounds go. But then again, isolated fights, it's not necessarily been their strength.
It's not been a recipe for success at this point, but you would really hope that at some point this escalates. You would really hope that at some point this gets a little more spicy than it is right now, because it's a whole lot of passive at this time. Nasty Boy still on the flank. They're still making moves around this, and they're leaving Mighty and Malone just up there by themselves. Well, they're buying time. I'm just wondering, what are they buying time for? Because that flank is going to take a whole lot longer.
Morocco now rotating in. Going in through the western side. Going to be a relatively clean rotation. No one really in that rotation path, and we saw it early. It's picking up 2 flags against Kenya. It's going to be the perfect start for them as well. Opens up that distance from 24 to 26. As South Africa is now starting to get into the heat of things. Somalia right across DBS. Ali takes him down. That was a 2-meter distance fight. Oh, Glitch got the second one as well. Things are falling apart right now for South Africa, unfortunately. And Somalia, they're holding strong. Not a single player has been traded. Not a knock secured for South Africa. And this is not how they imagined this day going. They've been starting to look so strong. First day as well. First game of the second day, likewise. And as soon as that second game started, something switched off, unfortunately. And South Africa has not caught back.
This is the Somalia from day one that we're seeing right now, though. They were doing decently, and they've completely fallen flat today. But a pretty convincing fight, pretty convincing exchange. They're going to get that flush as well. They're going to get the confirm. And South Africa will have to flee the scene and lick their wounds, as the circle has also gone completely to the opposite side. Look who's in the center. Egypt putting themselves in another good spot. We've seen endings around this place, and we've seen them excel in them. Remember, they were taking a massive 3 versus 4 fight versus Morocco in exactly that area of the map on day one. But more importantly, there was not a whole lot of teams in this circle, and a whole lot of teams have to make big moves, while some of the favorites are just there, laying in wait.
Talking about laying, Zegrom lays around the ridge lines, trying to find the shots, but won't find them just yet. 75 points. Actually make that 75. I'm talking about not finding the shots. He did indeed, as Slay confirms it. 1 frag being picked up. Closes the distance, make that 25 to Mauritius. Unfortunately, the distance up top is another 26, so make that 51 points to qualification.
Somalia's right there, though. They found 2 of Somalia right around the corner, and there's a few shots being exchanged. They're looking for this as well. They're not shying away from the fight. They're trying to figure out where to take it. Now they're flying on in. A few shots come their way, but Ali is a bit on an island. He needs support from his team right now, and Madagascar, they just want to run him down. Does he know about the off angle? Does he know about the player on the right in the car? It's looking like he does, but it's a bit too much to handle. And Madagascar, they single him out, they take him down, and they put themselves in a fighting position here.
Madagascar, the guys are cheering for them. Obviously such a massive underdog. Hook now. But one of the last one standing together with Glitch, who's nowhere near to be found. More shots coming in from the distance. Zekrom is very close. And now Pew Pew is also trying to find him between the 2 trees right in front. And he should hear this car driving away. Smoke still come out, no matter the situation. He wants to make sure that obviously and Glitch isn't able to take him down from the distance if he closes down on Hug and maybe potentially even shoots on him at the rotation. But that is not going to happen. No chance. 2 players from Somalia will make it out alive, but that's still a W in my books for Madagascar. Make that 76.
Tricky fight to take, but they do realize that they can single out a player, and they do so successfully, as they will have to make big moves towards the zone. And there's a team that we talked about earlier. Great position for Egypt. Absolutely chilling, and look who's made a move towards them. We've just seen Lazy right over there. Morocco once again find themselves right next to Egypt and find themselves very close to the neighbors on the scoreboard, as we are down already to 48 players and only 14 teams. This hot drop's finally kicking off.
Malone found the first frag. And yeah, we've been waiting for this almost the entire round. Nasty Boy with the second, and Mighty as well. Headshot with the UMP. Luke trades one out. Nasty Boy goes down, and he got Malone as well. Oh, this is a disastrous turnaround. Senegal has just lost 2 players. And Nasty Boy, he doesn't really know where the last player is. He should, honestly, but the cost of his teammate. Could that be the massive turnaround? No, it isn't, but he gets a flash nonetheless. And that fight, once again, just not worth it for Senegal at all. Just based off of that one single flash.
Yeah.
That Lucas just got. They worked perfectly up until this point, but that last player not being traded brings them down to 3 players and 64 points. They needed a big round likewise. Just like Nigeria and Tunisia. This is not a good start.
Yeah, once again, we see these hot drops just not being worth it, right? Another player goes down to the play zone. Remember the Primorsk game where 7 players or something like that went down to the blue zone? That was the prime example of a hot drop that's not worth it. This one, similar territory, honestly. One of Senegal is just knocked again to play zone. They're getting the res back up. It's costing them so much time, so many meds. And yes, they've gotten 4 frags, but what are you really going to do with the rest of the round? Morocco now, they're trying to swing around. They're trying to find some space for themselves as the circle has shifted on south, further towards the Los Leones area. And they will find themselves greeted by a whole lot of squads that are on this Los Leones exit.
Look how close they are. Paramol on the hillside, right above. Scurb right below. And Tunisia. Same could be said about any of these middle teams. If any of them win a round now, they would have a chance tomorrow. Otherwise, they really, really don't. And there's more frags now being picked up by South Africa, who have been reduced, decimated to just 2 players. They still make it work. Somehow finding 2 frags in that 2v2, singling out the one team that was also a duel, by the way, in this round. Good read on their part. Good read on their side. 58 points.
Oh, I'm loving this. Look at this. Morocco is pulling up. They realize there's a team behind them. They realize they don't have a ton of space in the zone. And they're just going at them. They're going for that fight right there and right now. And I love it. I love the aggression. But they're meeting one of the hottest teams of the day. They're meeting Madagascar on the other side. So this is not a free fight. This is not just frags you just pick up like that.
It really isn't. Carryman. He thought twice about really crossing that big distance. And he decided against it, which is the better play, in my opinion. So, good on him to take things slow. Keep all 4 players alive. You've got the early frags that you so desperately wanted in this one. That, sure, if you really have the opportunity to make something happen here, go for it, but you don't need to force it. And that's what Morocco is doing, shows their experience. And it's going to do enough to at least bully Madagascar away to a completely different edge. So that team essentially is going to be someone else's problem. Yeah, they make it out as 4, fine, but just not having them on their side is more massive.
Someone else's problem and your potential third party at that point. You can track them. You can see where they go. You can figure out what they're doing and who's in front of them, because they'll get shots and they'll shoot back and it'll give you a whole lot of information. You can basically essentially use that team as a scout if you can manage to track where they end up. And that can really be an opener for a lot of these circles where you don't have a ton of space for yourself. And if you're looking at this circle right now, Madagascar swung right on back. Look at that map. They've come back north. They actually do want to take this fight. And I think they've actually taken a knock. His Senkai knocked and flushed.
That's nuts. Madagascar turning around.
Kerry as well.
How did this just happen? Madagascar continues to surprise us. Morocco out of nowhere being decimated to 2 players. And Madagascar, if that was a coordinated push, that must have caught Morocco by surprise. It caught me by surprise. Yeah. How the hell are they turning this around? That was the perfect opportunity as well to show them, hey, Morocco, we're still in this. Yeah. Do not underestimate us. We're thinking we're going to rotate around, but actually, no. We're turning back. We're singling out your players. And Senkai, sure as hell, he was out of position. There was no way he was expecting 4 players to turn around at the exact same time.
There's 2 things that could have happened here. They seen another team in front of them, and they decided, well, we're just going to take this fight. Or it was actually set up the way it was. We're driving away. They're going to start repositioning. They're going to start repositioning. They're going to start widening up their net. And then we can punish the weakest link in the chain, and they do that to great success there. Lazy getting knocked on the other side by Egypt as well. Egypt has flexed out on this, and Egypt is looking to close out their competitors once again. Lazy out, Marshall out. Egypt is really closing in on that championship now.
And now, I don't even think Egypt is the big story. Mauritius has to be, it has to be the big story we're going to be looking at. Mauritius now has all the time in the world. They realize this as well. They were tracking the kill feed. They know Morocco's out of this one. So if they do any points here, above double digits, I want to say, that's going to be a very realistic chance to maybe even get the W and get the second place tomorrow in their very first game. Not much is needed afterwards. So Mauritius got to be the winner going out of all of this early skirmish here towards the northeastern side. Far from over, though. We're still 11 teams, 11 countries, so to speak, alive.
Skirp bleeds out. They've been sitting neighbors to Nigeria for a long time here, Tunisia. Now they've been also greeted by not only South Africa, but also Mali on that northern edge. Teams are closing in. The circle is getting tighter. Space is getting taken away from them. As you see Hama get in the nadar now just to try and put some pressure towards Mali, who would probably just have to reposition anyways. but not a great position here. Not a great compound for Tunisia to play if they have a team so close above them, and they do. We'll have to see what they do from this. Nigeria, tons of high ground, tons of information. Looking down on a lot of taken compounds, but they should have enough information to always find some sliver of terrain in between here, because they just really see almost everything here.
Yeah, good information. Nigeria has been the team to play this hillside north of Los Leones as well. No one's really ever contested them because they played so smartly. And historically, looking at the big rounds that Nigeria has done, I want to say half of it has been on Miramar in that position. Remember the 8-kill round, top 4 finish, where they pushed away Egypt at the very start of it.
Yeah.
So I want to see Egypt do the same, Nigeria do the same here in this one. And to some degree, I want to see Egypt go out as well, because obviously that would mean more suspense. But they are positioned right now. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
It really won't. And they, at this point as well, they can sit pretty. They've done the job, right? They've taken out Morocco. All they have to do now is get some placement points, get a few kills here and there. Yeah. Every single point you're getting is extending the gap. And that's a big shift. That's shifting down towards the southeast. The warehouses on the Los Leones exit. And it's a bad shift if you're Mauritius. They'll have to get creative here. They'll have to pull something out of the hat. Maybe that's just a good fight versus Djibouti, but they don't know that. But we do. They're probably getting third party the first fight they take, because Egypt is so close to them. I say that, Egypt on the rotate.
Yeah, Egypt's on the rotate. And Nigeria are kind of one of the best spots now to make kills happen. And that's Squilla with a nade. Momo goes down. And that might just be the opening. Second player gets taken down as well. Aishan with a headshot. As Finish falls to the ground. 2 more players left standing. Surely they're going to engage in this. Surely they're going to activate. No one really contests them on this edge. And the players are already rotating into the distance. There should be 2 clean flushes coming out from Nigeria. This is what they wanted. Yeah. This is what they were looking for on this edge. And there's so much more to gain.
And we've seen this before from Nigeria, right? We've seen this before on this exact part of the circle. And we've seen them pull it off versus Senegal yesterday. And they had a big game coming out of that. Now, clean wipe is not what they got from this one, but they essentially wipe a team because they have to send them to the other side of the map and make a lot of space for themselves. Kenya still fighting. Single player left alive in the Los Leones area, but we've just seen Egypt move into one of the best compounds they could have possibly taken. It felt like they got it for free, but now the first knocks are coming in, so maybe it's not all that easy.
Doesn't look like it, that's for sure. Egypt, with that big send, loses Arthur on the rotation. By the looks of it, no one's really there to get the rest. I'm saying that, but never mind me. I'm very much mistaken. It is a 1-1-2 split, and Arthur has been with his teammates, so not a worry. He's got the medic stuff to heal back up as well. Egypt's going to stay alive as 4. And I keep on trying to find and see what Mauritius has done, because that's got to be the most important rotation of this round in terms of qualifying for the World Esports Championship in Riyadh later this year. And once again, they are towards the northwestern side of things, or at least have been. I was expecting a deep rep towards the southern side of things, so rotate deep into the city through just the main roads on the western side, but they don't know this clear, so this is kind of a risky rotation.
Exactly, and I think they're sticking to their guns. I think they saw Egypt rotate away, and they stuck to the northwestern side as far as I can tell, but we can't be sure until we see what the observers have to show for us. As we once again have a look at little old Jay proning it out. Kenyan warrior, as they've shown us their fighting spirit once and again. Nigeria, we said they're in a great spot. They still are. Still in a fantastic spot to take a whole lot away from this game, but they have to deal with more and more teams now. They'll have to deal with Mali, later on with Djibouti. But again, these are beneficial fights. These are positions that you can actually use to frag out from.
South Africa, talking about positions to frag out of, is in probably the potentially worst spot, to be honest, to frag out on. There's nothing really towards the northern side, nothing really towards the southern side. It's at any point now that's being put on top of the 58 they have is a huge success. But let's take a look back at Nigeria. It's a 2-1-4 now. They've already found the first 2 plays. That one is not going to hit, but maybe the next one does.
It's a 3-man Mali, because they didn't get that knock earlier flushed. Remember the double knock from Quilla on that side of the circle? We were counting that player as dead, but they didn't get him, and now that makes the fight so much harder. Sean gets knocked, and suddenly they're fighting a 3-man. I have no idea how that went down. I have no idea how that happened, but it might just come back to bite them.
Slay in the meanwhile picks up Malone. And now that night, it finishes off Sean. It finishes off Sean. This is disastrous for Nigeria. That should not have happened. The fact that they're staying alive as a 3-man even is such a huge upset. More nades are raining on through Aquila. He realizes he needs to get the hell out of that dip. And he barely finds himself some safe space towards the blue zone. But there's still 3 players to be found. He finds an angle. Nigeria loses the second player.
Oh, it's disaster right now. It's a disaster for them on the northeastern side. No way you're losing that. No way you're losing 2 players to that. That's going to sting so much. They're only getting away 1 kill point here. We were singing their praises. We were saying this is the position to be in. And right now it's looking like a 1v3 for Mali. It's all she wrote as they've been pulling up to that side. And they're looking to close out that side of the circle. I don't think they know where Paramol is, but they turn it around. And wow, that's not how we expected. One of the strongest fighting teams, but a massive upset for them.
Massive, massive upset indeed. Nigeria was out 5th place. Not the round they were hoping for, but we still have Mauritius with 4 alive, Madagascar with 4 alive, and also Egypt. And I'm saying Egypt, just the moment I mentioned them again with a great headshot, takes down one of the Tunisian players. And it looks like they want to make a move in this. This has massive third-party potential from everyone, even Mauritius if they finish off this fight. This is massive. This is so big. As Paradox takes down Nell, and Logic takes down Shyboy as well. Lucifer with 1 to flush it out. Oh, Mauritius is making a comeback, and they're really making it happen as well. This is the 4th, maybe even 5th frag they've gotten in this round, and it looks like it's down to a 4-1. They haven't lost a player yet.
Yeah, but at the same time, Egypt is putting in work as well. A nice trade for, again, around the corner. Corona finds it, flushes it out, confirms it. Now has to make sure he doesn't get naded or flushed out by the rest of Tunisia, but they've done the job. They've made the entry. They've gotten into a compound they had no business getting into, and they're on 5 elims as well. So once again, the big dogs aren't sleeping either. It's really just Morocco that has let it slip this game. You can see Djibouti. They can't believe this is clear. They can't believe that there was a team there earlier and they've just left. But that's Egypt. And Egypt have put themselves into one of the best positions in the circle right now.
As they have. Egypt never to be underestimated, especially not in these types of scenarios, despite losing a player there. Still very much in contention for the round win. But the name of the game is Madagascar and Mauritius. It doesn't really matter where Egypt is going to finish off. They're going to finish off in 1, no matter what, at least at the day's end. The teams that we do have to focus on gotta be Mauritius and Madagascar in such a great spot. This specific position is a horrible spot if it does shift towards the north. But this time around, it has to go towards the north. And that way around is perfect for them. They can gatekeep almost everyone. Egypt, in the meanwhile, clears up their last player towards the northern side. I thought this was going to be a risky fight due to the fact that Mauritius was being obvious in a fight with themselves. No one was really able to party that. And Egypt makes it out. 6 frags, 4 players left alive. The gap is increasing towards Morocco.
They're running away with things.
153 to 126. And honestly, the round's not finished yet for Egypt.
The round's not even over. No, they've just cleared a bit of space for themselves. They've just had some fun. They're 4-man up right now. They're starting to get into the groove of things. But bigger stories are being written on the western side of the circle. Djibouti now have opted for the low ground. They're going to play below Mali. And the Mali squad, yes, they're going to get a whole lot of information from here. But high ground is fantastic until you have to come down from it. So I'm not even a massive fan of their position right now. Unless someone in front of them leaves, it's going to be tricky to get down that mountain.
Mauritius, 5 frags. Western side. Easy entry, you would think. But if you actually take a closer look at the circle, what's there to be played? It's their warehouse. They can probably get a cross in, but it's not a winning position just yet. Every single building cross from that point onwards means absolute massive risk. So I'm expecting to see them move now rather than later, and that's what they're doing right now. And I also said Madagascar with massive kill potential. This is one of the best spots in this entire circle. It might not look like it. It's not too centralized. But in terms of picking up frags and getting active, which is what Madagascar wants to do as well, this is perfect. Nasty, but almost gets taken down. This would have been an immediate confirm because he ran into the blue zone. He's not being taken down just yet. Jay makes it across the street. This might come down to a 1-on-1 with Sekrom here.
Jay is still alive in this. Remember, he was the only lonely Kenyan warrior proning it out in a building. He's still in this, and he's still posing issues for a lot of the teams in front of them. Madagascar, they don't really know how to deal with this. They're busy dealing with another team towards a bit of a further eastern spot. Mauritius is not stopping, though. They keep popping off on the scoreboard. They keep closing the gap, Alex, and they're below their 20-point mark now. They're pushing themselves really, really close to a Morocco in second place.
Yeah. Looks all the more likely, doesn't it? It looks all the more likely, doesn't it? Egypt, meanwhile, taking more space. That is going to be the next challenge for Mauritius. He's talking about Madagascar having challenges, but they do as well. Just one team, though, on that northwestern edge, depending on who's going to rotate down south. But I don't think anyone's really making that work towards them, and Paradox opens it up. King goes down, Flush immediately to finish it. He should know that Nasser has to peek as well. Almost gets taken down. There wouldn't be anyone to flush him out, but still, any knock now could make the difference in winning this game or not. Mali, in the meanwhile, being eliminated as well. Mauritius, they have to finish this.
Yeah, it's a crazy kind of game for both these squads. Egypt is basically clearing counterclockwise, and so is Mauritius. They're clearing the northwest, while Egypt is moving further off to the southeast and has left the warehouse wide open. So once Mauritius is done with this, once they take out Nasser, they have more space in front of them, and nobody's third-partying. They know exactly where he is as well. They want to clear him out of the containers, and a 2v1 should be too much for Nasser in a position like this. There's the first few shots. They can clear this easily, and Mauritius is putting point after point after point on that scoreboard. 8 elims already. And they're making the dream possible tomorrow.
It's down to just, what? I mean, not even 20 points at this point anymore. It's absolutely incredible what Mauritius is putting up in this last game. But Madagascar could still very much make that happen as well. At least getting close to it. Nades and Molotovs being traded back and forth. They have a little bit bigger competition on the other side, with Egypt now having taken control of that building. But that, as you said as well, that leaves that western warehouse open for Mauritius to be taken. And Egypt, during these entire skirmishes on the northern side, has lost a player as well. So they do not have the man advantage anymore.
Yeah, but Jay, the Kenyan solo, has just taken one of Mauritius. Oh, that's disaster for them. They had no idea there was still a solo on that side. They had no way of knowing. Egypt, on the other hand, they are fighting off versus Madagascar. The building, once again, it's again with the farmers. We've seen him pull off the most crazy off clutches on day number 1. But once again, they'll have to try and hold on to this building here. It's not going to be an easy fight for either of these two teams, but if they wait too long, it's just going to be Mauritius all over.
Yes, it is. Again, opens things up. Zekrom immediately hits the floor as Pubgm is trying to play around that door frame. Two of his knock players right in front of him. Oh, they barely miss each other, and he still doesn't take it. It is again. Every single time this guy is turning the hell up. He's got 8 eliminations in this one already. 14 points on the board, just in terms of elimination points themselves, and they've already reached the top 3, so that distance to Morocco is going to increase no matter what. Question only is now, who wins this game?
Again, with a Farmers and 3 gear, you do not count them out. 14 elims now. Mohamed as well already made the cross. He's already gotten himself close. They know about it though. Paradox knows about it, but he's out of nades at this point. He has one more Molly. Again, takes another one, because why not? Make it 15. They're about to be 40 points ahead of Morocco. Who would have thought? But can Mauritius do it? That's all we're waiting for at this point.
And we know already. We know one thing for certain. What a nade! Logic opens things up. Mohamed goes down just outside the warehouse. He overcommitted just a tiny bit. That was enough. That was enough of an opening for Mauritius to take him down. And they were happily taking this one. They surely were. Be reminded, it's another 3v3. That's another one. Faker fights again, and any Moroccan fan has to be cheering for Mauritius at this point. But they are knocked out of this one after it takes down Faker. This might just be the beginning of a big clutch. He knows where Logic is. He's got the high ground. But blue zone-wise, this is going to favor Mauritius heavily.
It's going to favor them a lot, but they have no util left, right? Logic has nothing. We saw Paradox earlier. He had one molly. That's all he had to work with. So they can't nade him off the roof. They have to wait him out. But the fact that he ran out of ammo while trying to get that flush might come back to cost them, because they can get the res now. Yeah. The only question is, are they going to realize he's going for the res on again? I don't think he's going to let that happen. Logic essentially has a 1v1 for himself right now. He's trying to buy as much time as he can. He's dancing around the containers. He doesn't want to take the fight just yet. Look at this. He's just dancing. He's just avoiding him. And he's buying so much time for his team. It's enough for Mauritius.
Are you kidding me? This is the second time today I'm saying that sentence, because there's just been too many upsets all around in the overall leaderboard. Mauritius, I mean, the one round they really had to take to have a chance for tomorrow is the one they do.
Yeah.
That's massive. That's completely insane. And I'd be interested if placement points were already calculated into that leaderboard that we see on the left-hand side. I don't think so either. That means we were both far off. I said 30 points was realistic. You said 20 points was realistic. I mean, we couldn't be more wrong. I think this might be 5, 6, 7 points, something in that dimension. That's completely absurd. Someone else has got a chance to qualify.
They have closed the gap, and wow, they've done it in great fashion. They've needed a win as well. They really needed to get close today to keep it possible for tomorrow. We said it earlier, right? Morocco wasn't happy with yesterday. They're going to be very angry about how that went today. They were coming into this as clear favorites. They were coming in with their head high and their egos pulsating through this arena. And essentially, like we said, no team did not talk about Morocco. And now it's looking like Mauritius is really putting themselves up there, making this a close one and making us very excited for tomorrow.
I love it. Couldn't have been a better finish. The one runner-up team that really had the best of chances, picking up that very last chicken dinner of day 2. Just for suspense sake, legitimately couldn't have gone any better. And yeah, as we said, I'm going to have to take a look at how much that really means. So 19 points have been gathered. That's the difference now that has been caught up to in terms of Mauritius and Morocco. 21 to just 2 points. But the one thing you also have to mention is Egypt running away with things now. It's been 30, maybe 40, I think above 40 points even, that difference between Egypt and Morocco. And I didn't think that was going to be happening.
Nobody did, right? We went into with an equal pair. We said it was a two-sided event at the start of the day. Yeah. And Egypt has really just... They were nowhere to be seen in the first 2, I believe. And then they've just run it back, right? Just win after win. And a really, really big last game for them to close it out as well. They are just more consistently winning games and more consistently getting to the late games. They're not as explosive maybe as a Morocco, but this was one of the games, and the last Miramar was one of the games where we've seen that explosiveness go completely the wrong way and really being punished. So once again, Madagascar as well, we shouldn't forget about them. South Africa, we shouldn't forget about them. But these are the big stories here.
Wow.
5 points difference
between
qualifying, between going to Riyadh, playing for $130,000 and going home with 5,000.
25,000 US dollars is still up for grabs here. So every place matters, but not for Morocco. They need that top 2. They need that top 1. If we're honest, going into this tournament, they wanted to go for top 1. 42 points. What are you really going to play for tomorrow? Is it top 1 or is it top 2? I mean, I'm sitting here asking myself these questions. They should be asking these questions, obviously preparing for tomorrow, because I think it's going to be it's going to be a different kind of answer than what they originally thought that answer was going to be yesterday. Just 5 points is the difference. How mental is that? Everything can change in 6 games if it's that top heavy. Something I wouldn't have, as I said, wouldn't have thought to be possible, but apparently it is. For the rest of the run-ups, though, I've got a couple of teams. Couple of countries that we have to highlight. We have got to highlight Madagascar coming out strong today. Nigeria as well. Tunisia was one of the biggest comebacks we've seen so far in the tournament. And also got to go up for Senegal. Really aggressive early game, time and time again. Just not clean enough. There was always this one player being flushed. And unfortunately, that kind of denied them that one big round they needed.
It's really unfortunate they miss out on that last round because of a hot drop like that. And we call it a hot drop, but it wasn't very hot, right? It was a very drawn-out affair, and that always really, really hurts you. But it's pretty much the same thing that you have to talk about every single time. You're going to have teams climbing the scoreboard. You have teams falling down. And tomorrow is going to be exciting for us. It's going to be a nerve-wracking day for a lot of players and a lot of fans, right? We are here enjoying the show. We are here enjoying that it's getting close tomorrow. Yeah. If you're a Moroccan player right now, the pressure is on. And especially tomorrow, if the fans come around, if the arena gets stacked, that's a lot of pressure on their shoulders. And mentally, I think it's a little easier to be the one catching up than to be the one that had a massive lead and kind of dropped it.
Yeah. Normally, there's some teams that usually like to play catch-up, but I don't think Morocco expected this to be. Like, if you can expect to play catch-up, that's a different story. But if you're suddenly down 40 points going to the last day, that's just different. You've got to think about your performance, and who knows? Who knows? Ladies and gentlemen, well, we're heading off for the day, though. It's been an absolute pleasure to cast today. We have 6 more matches tomorrow, so make sure to tune in.
Don't go anywhere. Tomorrow, same time, same place. 6 more games of PUBG Mobile for you guys. I can't wait. You can't wait. The fans can't wait. We'll see you tomorrow.